Okay, that it should work now. Hey, folks. Hey. All right, let me make sure my sound check is in. Oh, I'm on time. Don't be talking about me being late. No, I'm just kidding. All right, folks. Happy Sunday. Can you guys hear me? Do I need to turn this mic up louder? Let's move this mic a little closer in. All right. Okay, how's my live chat going? All right, that's working today. Let's pray everything don't start acting crazy like usual. This thing's already cooking. All right, we're gonna pray this thing is what it needs to do. Okay, all right, so I will jump into a few things. There's a lot to cover. I don't know if we'll get through it all tonight, but we will do the best we can. What up, Avocado Queen? What up, Alan? What up, X Zone? Nina Boo Sexy Sanchez. She was making sure I was on time. Hey, Bibby, what's up? What up, Archive Sunset? Said first live. Let's go. That's right. We about to start. Giovanna D, hello all. I got to see Janet yesterday and loved it. See, I told y'all it was gonna be a lit show. Like it's like one of the best tours of the year right now. It was such a great time. What up, Jalil? They said she put on a show. Of course. I almost want to get a ticket to another show, but I've already seen her twice for this tour, so I'm gonna stop spending money. Let's see. What up, Santino Palazzolo? What you say there? Hey, Calvin, thanks for another live. As Janet says, lots to talk about indeed. All right, what up, Yvette? Classy Jewel, you didn't miss anything because we just started. All right, and I did good. Look, I already have my tea already over here, so I don't have to get up for nothing, hopefully. Ashley Wright, Nan Nelson, Montrez, Jones, I think you just graduated. I think I saw that. So congratulations if you just did. All right, let me just jump into a few things really quick. Quick announcements. Tomorrow, we have another book club session at 9:15 p.m. Eastern time. This is for the Phyllis Hyman book we've been reading. We're taking it from chapter 13. In the announcement, I said we just go ahead and finish the book, only because there was only we normally do 4 chapters and go from there. This one has 5 plus the ending. So what we'll do is we'll still do the 4. If we have time, we'll jump into that last chapter and the ending. If not, I'll break it up. It just depends because there's a whole lot that happens in that last segment of the book. So we'll just kind of see how that goes. But like I was saying, with the book club, there's nothing you need to do. The Zoom link is already posted on my community tab. So for those who would like to participate on tomorrow, you just click the link and show up. All right. If you just want to sit and listen, that's totally fine. There's some people who really like to engage and have like some really dope conversations. Sometimes the authors of some of the books are sometimes on. By the way, Don, thank you so much. Don is a member of the book club. She was nice and sent me this really nice gift. I just now saw it because I've been out of town. But sent me a nice gift. I guess she realizes sometimes I'm tired on like some of the lives of the book club. So she sent me this nice Starbucks gift card and a nice card. Thank you very, very much, Don. I appreciate that. That was very nice. Don is also the reason we were able to get the author of the Phyllis Hyman book to join the book club because she had connections, right? So that's really cool. I've kind of been traveling a little bit. That's why I haven't been here. I went and spent some time with family. I went to LA. LA was great. Again, I'm always running into people. Somebody knew me when I was out in LA, which was kind of cool. And I'm glad I was behaving and not acting crazy or nothing like that when they saw me. And then I was in Richmond earlier this weekend. I literally just got back maybe 2 hours ago. So if I look a little tired, it's because I had to do that drive, right? Just staring in one spot, just driving for like 2 hours. All right. But yeah, LA was really, really good. I wanted to see my grandfather just because time's kicking in. He's 89, 90-ish. I didn't get a chance to really spend a lot of time with him when we shot Pullover So I Can Hit You, just because I did not realize we were going to be working that hard for those 4 days. So, I definitely was like, I have to come back and get some grandfather time in because, it's grandpa, right? And so we had a really great time. That was really cool. I always love going to LA. But the crazy part was that, pretty much as I landed was when we found out about Tina Turner passing. I'll jump into Tina a little bit later. What are the things that I want to share? I've been to a bunch of concerts, so I'm just going to give you guys a quick rundown of some of these shows. I'm not spending no more money, y'all. Like, I'm not spending any more money because I love concerts. I love the experiences. But, man, I was like, okay, you get a little too excited here. At this point, people just say they got a show and you're going to be the first one there. Relax. But in addition to some of the shows we've seen, like, or I talked about the Escape show, I talked about the New Edition show, talked about Janet. I think on the last live, I talked about the Kim and Lettucey show I went to, which was cool because Michelle Obama was at the Kim and Lettucey show, and she was also at the Janet show, the Virginia one. But I also got to see Anita Baker about 2 weeks ago at the Baltimore location. It's great that she's still performing. She sounded really, really good. And what was crazy was that was the first show after all of the social media drama with her and Babyface. So I didn't really know if Babyface was going to be there or not, but he was there, right? He gave a great show. Babyface was excellent. I wish he could have been on a little bit longer, but he was great. And then now there was like an hour in between Babyface and Anita. I was like, all right, Anita, you're killing me softly now. So we waited and waited and waited and waited. And then she finally came out. You know, Anita has this massive band, which I love. Brass section, horns section, all these different pianists and everything. But it's so funny. Anita is a diva. Man, like she came out, the first song was Same Old Love, you know, from beginning to end. 365 days, because that's like the one song she has that's almost an up tempo. So the band is playing that, and you know, she comes out, and you know, she's doing the wave and this and this goes on for like 8 minutes. The band has started this song over like 5 times, and every time you thought she was getting ready to say flashback, nope, ain't no flashback. The band would just like keep playing, and she was still shh. I'm like, Anita, if you don't start this song, like you already had us waiting an hour. But it was good. And then, but I will say the sound was a little jacked up, and I think it's her fault. I'm sorry, Anita. That might have been on you because the sound was perfectly fine for Babyface. Babyface did his bit, killed it. She came out and she kept saying she didn't like the compression that was in her microphone, which I understand. That's what a lot of the people start to use now. But she kept trying to make them change stuff with her sound during the show. And as soon as she made that complaint and they started changing stuff, the rest of the night, on every song, you heard that little from the mic on almost every song. I was like, see, that they already had done sound check, Miss Baker. Like maybe I don't know, but that was my only critique. Was like the sound was horrible because it just kept hissing and welling. It was messing up the songs. But she sounds really, really good. The only thing, by the time I got to Anita, I was tired because that was I told you I did 6 concerts in 8 days, and 4 of those concerts were Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Thursday was Jill Scott. Friday was this gospel show I took my godmom to. Saturday was Janet. Anita was Sunday. And Janet and Anita were both in Baltimore. So, because I saw Janet twice. And so, by the time I got to Sunday and got to Baltimore, I was tired. Like, me and my friend, we had just like ate and did the drinks and everything and then went to the show. So I'm already in like bedtime mode. And because Anita has no up tempos, and everything is right here, I'm like, all right, y'all gonna have to crank it up a tad bit in here because I'm about to start nodding off. But her voice is amazing. She sounds really, really good. A great band, great show. Even though they started fighting at the show, right? I'm like, how y'all fighting at an Anita Baker show? This is not even that kind. The music don't even match. The soundtrack don't match. Like Anita don't even have any songs about fighting, and even the one song she has about an argument is called "I Apologize." So I'm like, what y'all up there throwing hands for in the balcony? I'm like, this is. All right. And it's funny because while they're up there, you know, throwing hands, Anita's doing some speech about, you know, and I want to talk about love, and love is what we need. And meanwhile, you know, behind me, they up there just wrecking. Like, all right, Baltimore. So yeah, Anita was good. What else? Like I said, I took my mom it was a gospel show. It was like a Mother's Day thing. So it was, and I saw a subscriber at that one too. And I got to meet them too. That was really cool. But it was Yolanda Adams, John P. Key, Donnie McClurkin, and there's somebody else on that ticket. I forgot. The show was okay. The sound was horrible as well. That was at Constitution Hall. But this time, the sound was too loud. Like, it was like just blaring where it hurt. And mind you, it's gospel. So, you know, it's going to be the choir and the modulations and the drums and the percussion and the grit and the growl and I was like, and mind you, the whole crowd, everybody in there was over 60, minus the people who brought their mamas and grandmas and aunties, right? So the whole crowd is already a little bit older. So I was like, y'all really don't have to crank it this hard because half the people are hard of hearing already. And if they're not hard of hearing, they're sensitive. So it's kind of like what's left of the eardrum needs to work. So I was like, man, we by the time John P. Key got up there, and he's one of my favorites in gospel because he has some really good up tempos, but I didn't want to hear no up tempos because it hurt. Like the drums were so loud. And I'm like, why do y'all have it set up like we're in an arena? Constitution Hall is only like maybe 2,000 seats, maybe 3. I was like, y'all don't have to set it up like this. I mean, that crap, I shouldn't call it crap. Sorry, God. But man, it was so loud. Like it made it not enjoyable. But the actual singers were all great, of course. But the actual production, I'm good on that. I will never do that again. All right. If I want to go to a gospel concert, I'll just go to church. Jill Scott, I saw at MGM. Excellent show. Excellent band. Excellent. I mean, Jill Scott is the soundtrack to my college years. And what was dope, Adam Blackstone was our opener. You know, Adam Blackstone, that's the guy. He's worked with everybody in the industry, Mary J. Blige and Janet, and he's done all of the award shows. And most likely he'll probably be the music director for the BET Awards. If not, he does all the other ones. He's done the Grammys and the AMAs, and he's done everything in music, but he also has his own band, which is pretty dope. So he was the opener, and then they brought out Kevin Ross, who I really rock with. Like, Kevin Ross is really dope. You know, he's from here in DC. His the last project I had that I bought of his, I don't know if he has anything new out, but I bought the Drive 2. I think it's an EP. It might be a full album. It's the one where he has like the motorcycle in the picture. Really great project. And he has a really great live voice, so he was excellent. And then of course when Jill comes out, great show. And Jill had that rule where it was like no recording, just shut up and watch the show pretty much. And so it was kind of dope because you could really just sit and enjoy the show without trying to be worried about, or without trying to worry about, you know, trying to get your pictures and get your videos, and everybody got the video out. Now people were still going to record, but great show. And with that show, it was celebrating it was supposed to be the 20th anniversary of Who Is Jill Scott, the debut album. But when she initially wanted to launch that tour, of course, COVID showed up like it did for many other artists. And a lot of people had to cancel their tours and, you know, regroup. So instead, it was going to be the 23rd anniversary celebration, and she just did the album in full, which was really, really dope. That band was something else, like, man. And what I love about like Jill too, the musicality that's there. Jill loves to kind of rearrange and play with the songs, because at first I was like, dang, you know, I love that she's gonna just do the first album, but man, a lot of my favorite Jill songs are on her third album as well. So she's gonna just do like a few of those, and she was like, nope, I'm gonna just do these, and she did like 1 or 2 extra songs, but it was really, really good, to the point where I didn't even realize I didn't hear half the other songs I wanted to hear from some of the other projects, but it worked. Like, Jill was excellent. So I don't know if she's still on tour now. I don't know how many dates were left, but if you can see that show, definitely go and see it. That was a great show. The only other concert I haven't gone yet, After 7, I'm gonna take my godmom to see that one. That one's like on the 24th in a little bit. So I'm a little tired of concerts for a minute, so I'm gonna take a break with the shows, but I've had a great time catching all these people. I just hit my tooth with the glass. All right. Guess we will jump into TLC. If y'all hear sirens, y'all know I live in the city, right? So just bear with the noise. All right, let me read a few comments first, and then I'm gonna jump right into the TLC documentary, and then we will shift over to Jacky Oh after that. All right. All right. Oh, also, by the way, with the book club too, because this next session is likely the last one for the Phyllis Hyman book, I'm looking for the next category for, you know, our next book selection. So we've done a little bit of everything. I was thinking, since June, like in addition to June being Pride Month, it's also Black Music Month. I was thinking maybe we do another music book. I'm not sure yet, but so you guys give me your heads up on kind of what category you want to jump into in regard to the book club. If you want to go back to nonfiction or something that's like social or sociology or politics, whatever, literature, you know, we'll figure it all out. All right. Anyway, let us see. I'm gonna read a few comments, and then we're going to keep it moving. All right. Look, y'all got my energy back up, because I'm not gonna lie, I was real tired about an hour ago. I was about this close to just canceling the live and be like, look, we'll do this on Tuesday. I just need to take a nap. All right. SF said, hey, Calvin, did you hear the boom in DC from the plane crash in VA? I did not, because see, I was still in Richmond. And so one of my good friends had FaceTimed me. I didn't get a chance to answer though, because we were in like this event and stuff. And so, you know, when they sent me the text, said, hey, like my whole house just shook. I'm like, what's going on back at home? I was like, I hope I got a home to come back to. But yeah, I guess apparently I've seen like 15 different stories, but so I'm not sure what was what. But the thing that I saw was the sonic boom bit, where, you know, whenever there's something with the airspace, the fighter jets come out, and because they move faster than the speed of sound, there's that boom. Like that happened one time when I still lived in Washington State, and Obama was in town for something. And so Air Force One is flying in. There was some kind of local pilot with his, you know, his little 1-engine, 2-engine quiet plane, just doing a regular truckle across the sky or whatever he was doing. And I guess he didn't get the memo that it was a no-fly zone at the moment. So as soon as he took off, them fighter just, And so I just remember we were standing outside this shop, and out of nowhere, everything started shaking. I'm like, oh, not these earthquakes again. But it wasn't an earthquake because I was like, that was too quick to be an earthquake. And it was one of the sonic boom things. So I missed it because Richmond was a little bit too far to feel it. But apparently everybody in DC felt it. Mm, all right. Let's see. Greetings. What up, D Bradford? All right. And Yana J said, "Wow, 90 years, a blessing." It really is, because a lot of the men in my family don't, especially on my maternal side, none of the men make it past like 60. So, hopefully, I pray, Lord, let me get that many years and be in good health on top of that, right? Now, I will say, like my grandpa, he got one of his knees replaced, and I really don't want him to drive anymore. He's in denial that he should not be driving, because I was in that car fighting for my life with him when we went we were going somewhere, and when he took that left turn from the far right lane, and there were two more lanes between us, and I was like, Grandpa, like, we about to get T-boned, right? And then he wanted to try to put the window down to cuss the people out, and I was like, no, because if something go down, I get it. You're as young as you feel, but sir, if they were to get out of the car now, I got to get out and fight. You just stay in the car, give me your cane, I got it from here, because I don't know what you're possibly gonna do at 90, right? With one bad knee and the other one need to be replaced too. But man, yeah, I get nervous riding in the car with him, because he be doing that wild driving. I love him to death, but I don't like riding in the car with him. I feel like, man, I just be looking at the floor, and I have to tell myself, like, okay, you know what? God gives older people a lot of grace, and remember that He does this every day when you're not here. So this is His norm. People might even see His van and just recognize to get out the way. So who knows? Um, man. All right. SF, yes, Babyface was at that show. D. Bradford said, I remember years ago, Anita and Luther had a moment too. I heard she was something else. Also, Luther used to be too. These artists and their entitled attitudes is a mess. Look, Luther, I can't imagine Luther and Anita. They both got them egos. Because remember, In Vogue was like, touring with Luther was hell, right? So, and I know when it was Anita and Luther that I don't know. It's interesting, right? Yeah, folks, everybody can't mesh well. We saw that with that BET, not BET, that Escaping SWV show. Actually, we saw with the BET presents the encore as well. Fortunately, they were at least the encore show. They at least got to make a group in the end. They might have been down to 3 or 4 people, starting from 8 or 9. But man, yeah, I think just artistic people everybody knows what they want. So I think it's really hard sometimes to compromise if you have a vision for something that you're trying to do. Like, so I get it, and then I don't at the same time, because I feel like with anybody who's worked with me for any kind of project, I don't really get the memo that I'm difficult to work with. I think I definitely know what I want, and sometimes I can be stubborn, but I'm not like difficult. Like, it's usually people like, oh, it was great working with you. I'm like, thank you. So I get it. Um, Deja Vu said, not a lullaby about to sleep. Yeah, listen, I loved Anita, but I forgot like her whole catalog is here. And like like right here. So it's just like, at this point, it's 10:30, 11 o'clock, and you bring me joy. I'm like, okay. I love this song. I'm a little tired though. You give me one, you have to remix or do a cover of something just to wake it back up a little bit. I was like, Lord. But when she did I Apologize, that's my favorite Anita song. So I was like, all right. But she did that early in the show. And she had done not Rapture, Sweet Love, like right in the beginning of the show. I thought that would have been the climax. She said, oh no, I'm gonna get this out the way now so y'all can focus on these other songs. It's like, oh, okay. All right. Um, let's see. Said y'all are mostly older anyway. Don't be aging me up. I ain't that old. I just got an old soul. I'm about to be like Remy Ma. I saw Remy Ma say she's 35 because the years she was in jail don't count. So you know what? My new age is like 26. All right. I'm 26 again. All right. All right. I'm gonna keep scrolling because we gotta cover a whole bunch of stuff. Yeah, Don Smart says she loves After Seven's harmonies. I'm just a little sad that the one member died. I'm like, dang, man, it's not gonna be the same. But man, all right. Okay, y'all talking about the book club. We'll figure out those who show up on Monday. We'll talk about what kind of subject we want to jump into. Right. Okay, I need to keep moving because we'll be here all day. um, man. Oh, speaking of my grandpa, I'm gonna tell one more story. I'm sorry, y'all. Y'all know I like to segue and jump into stuff. What was interesting, so I'm not gonna say where my grandfather lives, but he lives in LA, right? And so the neighborhood he used to live in, or that he lived in before he moved into it, because he moved into his house in 1954 or 55, right? So that neighborhood used to be white and Asian, right? He lives not too far from where like Crenshaw High School is, it's like 2 blocks over. But that entire neighborhood used to be white and Asian. And so when he got his house, this is still during the era of redlining and, the flaws with the FHA program and everything like that. And so what was happening at the time that he was moving into his neighborhood was, the neighborhood was finally getting mixed up a tad bit, where finally people that were not white or Asian were starting to move into this specific neighborhood. And so the houses were depreciating in value because Black people were moving in. And so the person that he purchased his home from was pissed that he purchased the house, right? Because he felt like he could have gotten more had he sold it to somebody else that was white, or sold it to, he was already pissed about that and feeling like, he should have sold his house earlier because he would have gotten more. And so at the time, they had just planted all these magnolia trees all up and down like several of the avenues that are there, like probably from like first through 10th, I think, all have like these magnolia trees that just run across, right? And this is on the side by like, yeah, I already said like close by like Crenshaw High School, like we're like 40, between like 48th and like 52nd and all that. That's all you get from him. Y'all, I don't know, y'all showing up at his house. But anyway, that whole area, everybody has these magnolia trees that run like just straight down the street. His house is the only house that does not have one of those trees. And it's because the owner was so pissed that he had to sell the house to this Black man and his wife. He took the tree with him. Like, trees had just been planted like by the city. So, it's like a small tree. They took the tree with them. So he never got his magnolia tree. So his tree is the only tree on his street without, or his house is the only house on the street without that magnolia tree. And mind you, that's like 60 plus years ago. So all those trees are big and massive now, but he doesn't have one. I said, wow, the way America works. There's history and everything. Like, what I love to do, especially when I get with older relatives, I will literally just record our conversations just to kind of reference them for later, just to kind of get, so you don't lose the recipes. I wish I would have got my dad's gumbo recipe before he died, because I'd be pissed about it. That and the red beans and rice. That's why that one time I was on here asking y'all for red beans and rice recipes during the pandemic, because I was trying to figure out how to make some decent ones. Y'all gave me some good ones too. So much, greatly appreciated. Yes, exactly. Yes. Mitochondria. They took a tree, a whole tree. Like, how mad do you have to be? Okay, we gotta move on, guys. Let me jump into TLC. I had to cram that in. Fortunately, they did the rerun like right after, so I think I was up till 2:30 watching it. Overall, I thought it was okay. I wish they would have gone the route of what they did with like Janet, how they broke her up into like 4 parts and spread it over 2 days. I just think TLC has such an elaborate story that 2 hours just wasn't enough for me, at least. And I think I have to remind myself, okay, you're also like obsessed with music, so half the time you're gonna know stuff the regular person could care less about. Um, and it just doesn't have an interest in. But I feel like there was so much I wish they could have added in. I love the footage that they had. I love like some of the footage that they used that we haven't really seen before. I thought that was really, really cool. And I really enjoyed the very last 20 minutes, kind of like the comeback story and just showing them doing, Glastonbury and just touring again. And because I just think when I look back, TLC was so massive when I was little, but I remember, after Left Eye Pass, because that would have been high school for me, just kind of accepting that that was it. After 3D had run its course, we kind of just knew, well, all right, well, that's them. I guess we'll pay attention to the other groups that are out. Like, that's just how I kind of moved with it. But if they could have added some things, I also think they did. I'm half and half with it. I think they did an okay job, kind of just describing Left Eye the person and kind of making that correlation with her as an artist and what it's like working with her, and just her personality and how she's going to kind of move and do things in her own wave. Like that part, I don't know, I was half and half with it. There were parts that were good. There were parts where I was like, I wish they just go a little bit more into detail. You know what I mean? So if I could have added some things, this is just me being the little producer person in my head. Maybe I should switch fields and start doing like TV docs if one of these companies hire me. I would have definitely talked about them doing like the Budweiser Fest tour because at that point they're on a tour, but they have no money, right? And any money that is coming in is going into debt. It's almost like the same story we had with Toni Braxton. So it happened where she's on the Secrets tour, but the tour's not making any money because she has all these expenses that are piling up. I would have talked about them holding the label hostage with the guns like that. Like they was not putting in none of the good stuff. Like they should definitely added that in there with the guns and trying to figure out who got the money and where's all our money at. We done made y'all all this money and we don't see any of it. I definitely would have probably spent a bit more time on just all the drama that, not even drama, but just everything that took place before fan mail, right? Fan mail almost didn't happen because Left I had already told them then, y'all on some BS. I'll walk right now, right? That's how we got the robot. That's how we got Vicky with like on Silly Ho and everything. Like there was all these different things where they did talk about Left Eye submitting, all the songs that she wanted to use and them not using any of them. But even before they got in the studio, they had all kind of issues that were going on with like contracts and everything. It's actually, I talk about it in my So What Happened video. Just go watch that. I would have talked about everything. They talked about a lot of what happened in the fan mail era because, of course, they had drama. But I don't remember them talking about the challenge where Left Eye challenged all of them to come up with solo projects, and whoever would sell the most, you get $1 million or whatever. Do the 3 package deal, and everybody come out with their own solo projects since everybody knows everything. Tion, Player Watkins, and Chili or Razonda Hater Thomas. I don't think that was in there. I would have talked about even the drama before the tour. T-Boz talks about it in her book, but they have the big blowout in the fight at the hotel right before they're supposed to go on TRL to announce the tour. Because Left Eye didn't want to do the tour. She's like, the money's funny. I'll give it. Left Eye, y'all can say what y'all want about it, but when it came to the money and stuff, she always had questions, right? So it would have been cool to kind of hear about that. Like in T-Boz's book, it's hilarious, but I would have loved to kind of hear T-Boz and Chili talk about it because they were both in the room when, Left Eye said, I'm going to go on TRL and say, I'm not doing the tour. The money ain't right. And so they have this whole blowout and T-Boz is about ready to fight and beat the girl up and then chased her down to the limo and all kind of stuff. So it would have been, I would have loved to see them put that in there. Or even just talk about the rest of the TRL appearance. And then even with the fan mail tour, it ended up being very successful, but the very first leg was not, just because they announced the tour. So they announced the tour and then it started 2 weeks later. And just like I said in the So What Happened series, that's the era where we're not, there wasn't the luxury of an artist saying, I'm going on tour. You grab your phone, run a Ticketmaster, buy the ticket, boom. No, you needed to like get out and go to the venue and purchase the ticket and wait in line. And that's if you heard about it, because again, this is before cell phones even had the internet at this point, right? So there's no social media alerts and everything like that. If you would only find out about an artist going on tour had you watched them on whatever show they were on, or how you saw it in the newspaper, or had you heard a radio promotion or something about it. So a lot of times when people needed to tour, 2 weeks wasn't enough to announce such a big tour. And they had like a big budget tour too. So, the first leg, they were in a hole. Fortunately, when they got to the larger markets, by then the marketing had been there. People knew they were on tour by then. They kind of revamped the lineups because they had 1 million people on this tour. Destiny's Child was on it. Christina Aguilera was on it. Vega was on it. Black was on it. Somebody else was on there too as well. And so, yeah, I mean, they weren't all at the same show, but long story short, the tour is expensive to pull off. And, and they do talk about just the troubles that took place during the tour, as far as people questioning if they were even going to, make it to their venues because they're apparently fighting and everything like that. So that would have been interesting. And they had a lot of canceled dates on that one too. I remember like Baltimore and I think Philly got canceled. And those were like some of the later shows. And then the very last show would have been Atlanta, which was the TV special. Some of that had to do with T-Boz also being sick, because she definitely was pregnant and didn't know it yet. So I can understand. So that would have been interesting. Let me see. Where did I write this? Oh, don't know what. I wrote something. I don't even remember what it said. So I'm gonna just skip that one. Oh, Left Eye going missing. Oh yeah, and then that era, Left Eye used to dip out with her man and just disappear for days at a time, and people were paranoid. So there would always be the articles about her missing. Chili references it a little bit when she talks about kind of being in denial that Left Eye had passed, thinking it's just one of those moments again. And to be fair, a lot of this has somewhat been brought up in one of, they had two behind the musics. They had the original one and then the kind of follow up to what's been happening since one. So some of this stuff has been referenced before. I wish they would have talked a bit more about 3D. That's really what I wanted to watch for. I wanted to watch for like everything from 3D onwards, just to kind of see what happened like with their lives. Because even to be honest, I felt like they zipped through the album eras, like especially Crazy Sexy Cool. I was like, it had been 6 or 7 minutes and they were already jumping to fan mail. I'm like, damn, y'all not gonna okay. I mean, it was dope that they talked about, Creep and showing the footage of the original video. They actually shot 3 videos. But so that part was dope. But like, I would have loved to hear, the behind the scenes with like working with Organized Noise to make waterfalls and some of these tracks and everything else like that. Um, all that kind of stuff. But with 3D, they briefly talk about it and then they jump right into the next. And I get it. It's probably not the piece they want to highlight, but I think people like to hear and see a full story to really understand people's journey, right? Because these artists go through all kind of nonsense. I think what I did appreciate is they do talk about like where they were at in the headspace as far as we just buried our friend here, our coworker, somebody we've been working with for 10 years. The label's rushing us to either do this album or put out a greatest hits so they can be done with us. Because at this point, they've already started working on the album. The money's been put in there. So the label is gonna get their money some way, somehow. So y'all better get in here and go sing. So they highlight that piece, which is cool. They did not talk about Are You the Girl? You remember that was the reality show they had, and that had a lot of controversy in the beginning because people were under the assumption that the purpose of the show was to replace Left Eye. So that was a fight and a half. And remember, this is before social media was bigger. So it was really hard to defend yourself once rumors and stuff hit the internet. I guess it's up to her. If I was T-Boz, it would have been interesting to hear about the second bankruptcy she had, because a lot of that one really came from like medical bills and stuff. I think that would have been a really dope conversation to have just about the flaws in our healthcare system and how, even when you're wealthy, right? Those medical bills and stuff can add up. And again, it goes back to them also just not getting certain royalties and everything. I think at the time she filed bankruptcy the second time, she was only bringing in like $1,500 a month in royalties, and there wasn't any other money coming in, because you got to think from about 05 to 2013, TLC wasn't doing anything. Chili was doing her stuff. T-Boz was, they were doing like smaller things on their own. But as far as like all these shows and stuff they've been doing, they hadn't toured. All that started after about 2013, right? They didn't talk about their last album. That's the one that was like community funded. And so yeah, and they also didn't talk about doing the movie, but I get it. You can only put so much in a documentary, but I was like, yeah, there was just so many things you could put in there, because I feel like a lot of what we saw were things we already knew, like especially if you're old enough to remember it. So I still thought it was great. I just think it needed more time, but I understand it's more so the time constraints. So you got to take the nuggets you want to put in. Sometimes, like my writing partner always says, you don't want to have shoe leather where it's just kind of like stuff that's just in there to be there, like put the things that are really going to hit. But I feel like all those things I just brought up would have been interesting. That's all I'm saying. But I enjoyed it. TLC is definitely still one of my favorite groups. They're actually here, I think, next week. I didn't buy tickets. I kind of don't want to go. I like them. I don't want to sit through Shaggy, and I don't want to sit through Sean Kingston. I do like In Vogue. But yeah, they're at the same venue that I saw Janet at, like the Virginia venue I went to, and that I'm just thinking of the parking and sitting in the traffic for 2 hours. I ain't about to deal with that, but we'll see. Maybe I'll get a ticket. But hopefully the documentary helps them, sell some decent numbers with their tour, and they, prosper and do other great things. But yeah, I thought it was a dope documentary. I think they should do more documentaries for a lot of these artists, because so many of them have stories and experiences that we don't even know about. We only see what we see, especially for artists that were out before the era of Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and even YouTube, to be honest, right? There's so many stories and things that we don't know about a lot of these folks that probably could be really great gems for people that aspire to be artists, and some that are just funny or, interesting to listen to. All right, I'm gonna read some comments and then we shall keep it going. All right. Don Smart said she loves John P. Key. Oh, I'm way up here. Oh yeah, Show Up was my song. I cranked down to some Show Up. All right, let me scroll down. Let me get the TLC here. Where is my chat going? Okay, here we go. Let's see. Oh, yeah, still talking about my grandfather. Yes. Thank you, Kendrick Celestine. I hope I'm saying that right. Tykel Williams says someone leaked 2 snippets of songs from TLC 3D, one called Us, which has Left Eye on it, and another called Slow Drag. I haven't heard those ones. All right. I remember like, well, I think Who's It Gonna Be is on one of their later albums. I remember that one in Whoop De Woo. And they had a song called Ice Cream. I don't think that one ever leaked, but I remember hearing like a piece of it. Somebody had like snuck something in when they were recording. And there was another song, Getaway or something. There's a few. 3D would have been interesting. I'm interested to hear what else would have been on the project that didn't make it. Just like Rainy Days was supposed to be on 3D. 3D. Mary J's Rainy Days. All right. Alan said, "I'll never forget when Coco gave Alicia the side eye when Alicia saying we could BET Awards." It's funny. I knew I wasn't the only person that saw that. You remember that? That's the '07 or '08. It should be one of them 2 years. BET Awards when Alicia brought out all the girl groups. She brought out SWV and En Vogue and then TLC. But when they were doing Week and Alicia was singing her part, I don't know if Coco was really being shady or if it was just they just caught her in a bad part. But Coco gave that look. And then, she did one of them big Coco notes right after. I was like, all right, Coco said she's going to remind y'all, don't play in my face with my songs. If you're going to sing it right. Let's see. All right, Poison Ivy. I just forgot about that. Y'all remember stuff I don't even remember sometimes. I remember you were mad at your mom for half giving you the red beans and rice recipe. Yeah, gonna rush me off the phone. I'm trying to like really write down the stuff, but she, like I said, she got a man now. Okay, she loves me, but she's happy, which I'm happy for. But man, what, Michael? Jeez, just you put the stuff in the pot. It's like, don't worry about it, Mama. I'll just ask the people that follow me on YouTube. Dang it. All right. Jalil said T-boz and her brain tumor made me cry. I really think y'all should check out her book. It actually I haven't. Let me see real quick. Where you at, T-boz? Here it goes. The book is really good because it's A Sick Life, right? That's the name of this book. Definitely check it out. It's also on Audible if you don't like to stare at pages because your eyes get dry like mine sometimes. She really goes into detail about that experience with the brain tumor, because that part was sad. She started crying thinking about the kids and stuff. But in the book, she talks about going, and I don't want to spoil it all, but she talks about, going through the procedure, going through the recovery, and how because a surgery like that is so invasive, your body is constantly in like shock and that idea of homeostasis and trying to return back to normal. But there's not a return back to normal after things have gone in your brain and been taken out. And so there's a portion where she talks about one day she's just eating and the paralysis came back like tenfold and the food fell out of her mouth while she was trying to eat, and just how she just started bawling. And her mom was like, no, we're not doing this. That means we just start over. I'm like, man. So T-boz be going through it. That's why she gets a lot of grace from me, because folks be trying to light her up sometimes, especially with some of the performances, because, she doesn't really do as much dancing anymore. And remember, in my opinion, T-boz was the best dancer in TLC in their heyday. Chili just got into her bag because Chili was the lazy one in the group. When you used to watch some things, Chili was always trying to be cute. T-boz and Left Eye was doing whatever she was doing. But T-boz was always the one that went hard with the dancing, in my opinion, right? But with her having that brain tumor, like that, it affected her equilibrium, her balance. She gets the bouts of vertigo. She already can't be super, super stressed. With the sickle cell, she can't be in extremely hot conditions or extremely cold conditions, and like it's just so much stuff going on. So the fact that she's even performing, she gets grace from me, right? And then again with the medicines and then the steroids they give you, it's going to make you blow up in weight. So people be trying to talk about how built she is or what her size is. Like, I don't think folks realize these entertainers are human like the rest of us. They deal with all kind of nonsense. I even think, like, not that I hate always bringing things back to me in my life, but I always think back even watching like my dad go from being like the big macho, heavy muscle. If something were to go down, I know my dad could beat up everybody kind of person, to like being smaller than me and watching that in real time. Like that kind of stuff can, yeah, it's like, and of course he wanted to be his old self. He just couldn't. It was like he'd take 10 steps and be out of breath. And it's just like, life happens, unfortunately. That's why I'm like, while you have good health, enjoy it and pray that you get to keep it until you hit the grave. Let's see. She said, didn't Chili say that Left Eye would have been the female Kanye? That's insulting the Left Eye to me. I think they're talking about the idea of, how Kanye just says whatever he wants to say and it is what it is. I think Left Eye always had that energy. Yeah, if it's that point, I don't think Left Eye would have been talking about slavery was a choice, right? I don't think she would have been saying, let's not stand under the nets next time. Yeah, she wouldn't have been saying nothing like that, I don't think. But, who knows? Um, D. Bradford said, "Does Pebble still have them under gag order? I know when they used to interview in the past, they said they couldn't discuss a lot of things because of gag order. I know she had the lawsuit against TLC and LA Reid and VH1 and Viacom. Like she sued, Pebble was suing everybody. And mind you, the movie didn't even make her look that bad. I don't know whatever happened with that lawsuit. So I don't know if maybe that ties into some things, but they definitely still talked about um, how the money was funny. Um, let's see. Kat said Tion hated that Left Eye. Said much up their endorsement. Oh, messed up their endorsement due to burning down the house. She talks about that in the book as well, which goes back to that conversation I had about them having a big fight in the hotel before they were going to announce the tour because they only had one sponsor for the fan mail tour because nobody wanted to work with them, which is crazy because like the fan mail tour is like September 99 to about January 2000. The house burned down in the mid 90s, right? They folks were still mad. They said, we ain't taking her nowhere. Nope. Crazy. Um, let's see. Teddy A said, literally thinking about how T-Boz's book was more interesting. I just thought like her book, especially if you listen to the Audible where she's telling the story, like when she talks about beating up the girl in the hotel and cracking her cheekbone, I'm like, God dang, T-Boz, Lord, like that book. She need to do a second one because I know there's some more stories. Like, man, yeah, her book was really really good. She was very open in that book. I did see TLC in concert in 2014. And it was really really good. Which is why I'm not super pressed to go to this show they have next week. But who knows? Maybe I'll go. It's a Friday. I ain't doing nothing, so maybe I will go. Plus, the tickets are not extremely unreasonable. They're very reasonably priced. I just really don't want to sit through no Sean Kingston, and I don't know the order of who's doing what. I know TLC's at the end, but I don't want to miss In Vogue. And my fear is I'm gonna try to go at the very end and I'm gonna miss In Vogue and arrive when Shaggy's on stage and be pissed off. And it's not against Shaggy, it's just I don't want to sit through a Shaggy show. Now, my mother will. She is obsessed with Mr. Boombastic. She just discovered this song a few months ago because, like I said, I grew up where she didn't listen to a lot of what was current. She listened to Patty and Gladys and Aretha and all the divas from the 60s and the 70s. And other than that, it was all gospel. So anything that happened in the 90s, she was unaware of. So now she's rediscovering all these songs. She likes Lizzo too. She likes that Lizzo feeling good as hell. She loves that. So like she might sit through Shaggy. I'm not doing it. And it's nothing against him. I just don't want to go. Right. I'm not trying to feel older than I already am. Like a Shaggy show just makes me feel like, yeah, you are no longer cool. Like you are old, sir. All right. Um, let's see. I also noticed, I don't know if you guys caught it, when they were playing Creep, when they were talking about the video, the version of Creep they were playing was the re-recorded version that they recorded. Because remember, they were having issues with the royalties. So they went and re-recorded all of their the big hits and everything. And it was an album that was released in Japan right before the movie came out. And then those tracks were the ones that were used in the movie. So if you watch the movie, Digging on You sounds kind of weird because if you listen to the original Digging on You, it's T-Boz layered over herself in the verse. You can't really tell, but it's two tracks of T-Boz singing the verse, but one is like under the other, so it gives that echo reverb feeling. But in this one, somebody did something wrong, and you just hear an isolated T-Boz vocal without any additional support. So it sounds kind of weird. It's not bad. It just sounds awkward. But yeah, I noticed they were using that in there. I was like, okay, I see y'all. I better get y'all royalties. I understand. Um. Oh God, the TLC is going to jail party. I forgot about that. Okay, y'all remember that too when that's when they had the crowdfunding for the album, but then we didn't get any updates. And people are like, oh, they're going to jail. They stole everybody's money. I was like, y'all leave them alone. It takes a long time to do music. That's all I'm saying. Albums are a lot of work. I don't even understand what takes me so long to do mine. I don't even have a team. It's just me, myself, and I over here. I still be taking 50,000 years to do stuff. So I can imagine, only having a budget of, I think, 150K and trying to stretch that out with different producers and mixing and mastering. And then you got the songs that don't make the album and you still got to probably pay for those too. Like, man. Um, said I wish they touched on how they felt about Supernova. I don't think they liked the album, to be honest. Especially they were getting dissed on the album. Left I had that song, what was it called? I Believe in Me. She has that verse, and I didn't realize because I bought 3D first, right? I had 3D. 3D has that song Over Me, and there's that line where Left Eye's like, when the house burnt down, I took the blame. When the money got funny, I took it to court, something, something, something. And she says when most of y'all chicks wouldn't have even fought, like that's what it said on the 3D version. On Supernova, they took it from that same song. When she said, when most of y'all scrubs, I was like, oh, that's about the group. Would have even fought. And then the next line is about the group. When the group had issues, I something, something, something. I was like, oh, they beefing on here, but that part didn't make 3D. I would have put it on there either. You ain't gonna diss me on my song. But yeah, there's a lot that could have been on there, but I get it. You kind of want to protect your legacy and let it be all whimsical and have a great, happy comeback story. I get it. I like to get to the nitty gritty, not even to be messy, but just to really showcase the experience of what people deal with in the industry. And again, being in a group with three different personalities, right? And what is I'll come back to that later. All right. Anyway, let's see. I do like 3D the album. If I keep touching my eye, I have an eyelash that has curled over and it's poking me in this eye, and I'm trying to nicely get it without like doing this in front of y'all. So it's driving me crazy. That's the only thing I don't like about like having long eyelashes. Sometimes mine like to curl back and stab me back in the eye. Right. All right. All right. So yes, they did release the album after the crowdfunding. It was called TLC. I wasn't crazy over it, but it had some songs I liked that were okay. I really liked, they had a song called Start a Fire I liked. I liked Joyride. What else was on there? There was a song called American Gold it was okay. I thought it was cheesy, but I liked it. Actually, the album's not, I might play it tomorrow at work or something. I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't my favorite, but it was cool for what it was. What I would have liked for them to do, and I think I said this on Twitter or Instagram one time, on the Fan Mail album, the very last song on Fan Mail, Don't Pull Out on Me Yet, is this really nice melodic R&B song with t-boz and Chili, and their voices sound so good together on it. It's a very mature approach. I would have loved for them to go that route, right? I think the last album was cool, but it was still trying to kind of pull in the younger audience, and they're not checking for them like that. No disrespect. I mean, they will for the nostalgia, but no, like I didn't like some of the songs in there, like the Hey MF song they could have kept, and there was another song that was really weird. I forgot what it was called. I ain't like it, but it is what it is. Okay, I'm going to move on. But now Way Back was good. The single, I loved Way Back. I thought that was cool. We're gonna shift gears here. I think I said everything I was gonna say about TLC. Yep. All right. Next page. All right. Let's talk Jacky Oh. Now, to be honest, I really barely knew who she was because I didn't really watch Wild 'N Out like that. But if you remember Jacky Oh, she was on like 5 seasons of Wild 'N Out. She's also the mother to DC Young Fly's 3 children, right? So they have a 6-year-old girl, a 2-year-old girl, and a 10-month-old boy. And sadly, she passed away a few days ago. I'm not 100% sure the cause of death. You're getting all these different stories. Some of the rumors are saying, oh, she went to do the mommy makeover and something didn't go right and so on and so forth. I don't know. I ain't got that part down, so I will not put it out there how she died, but she is no longer here. And I think in general, I was just thinking about it. I just think that's such a sad outcome because she was only 32. The thing I'm starting to learn is you start to learn people are like, when you're a teenager, you think like 30s and 40s and 50s are so old, and then you realize actually those are actually pretty young years. Like 32 is a very young age to pass at, which is really, really sad. And so I feel horrible for the kids. I feel horrible for DC Young Fly. And I think for him, which also sucks, as a parent who has to parent children who have just lost their mother, or in another situation of somebody who, whenever a parent, if somebody is blessed to have 2 parents, right? When one dies, especially while they're children, the other parent sadly has to still fill the void of that parent that's no longer there while that parent is still grieving, which I think is really tough. To lose the mother of all of your children, right? You're already not yourself. You're trying to piece together and make sense of what is, and you're mad at the world and grieving, and nothing makes sense. And at the same time, you have to be strong for your children, which I think is a really hard space to be in because I personally believe it is okay to not always be strong, right? I think it's okay to be vulnerable and to feel weak and feel like you just need a minute to just. But when you're a parent and the kids need you, you don't really get that luxury because they need you to kind of assure them that everything is okay. Um, like, where am I gonna go with this? Like, in the same way, if you're on a plane and it's really turbulent and you kind of getting a little nervous because you're like, okay, I feel like the pilot is fighting for his life right now. But you look at the flight attendants and they're just happily pushing the cart, and mind you, the plane's just flying and going and dropping. As long as the flight attendants are good, I'm good. I think with kids sometimes when there's moments of chaos or panic, um, they look to their parent. And so sadly for the parent, it's like the parent has to almost keep it together. And this is when you get the parents who some parents don't want to cry in front of their kids about it because they don't know if the kids are going to perceive that as their parent being human or their parent being scared. Just it's all kind of crazy things. And so I just think like that's tough. It makes me think back. Story time real quick. So when I still work with the kids, I'm not going to tell that story. I'll say that one for podcast, which comes out this weekend. There was a day we were going on a field trip, right? And I don't remember if I told this story before, but I'll tell it again. We were going on this field trip and we had went all the way to Funland, which is kind of like a big, I'm not gonna say a big version of I guess like a big version of Chuck E. Cheese, but really big, where there's like rides and stuff you can get on. And it's all the way in Fredericksburg, Virginia. So I drove our little bus all the way down there and back, right? And for some reason, like I'm driving, something kept, and I was at the time I was in the far left lane. Something kept telling me, get over to the right. Like just get over to the right. And there was no reason to because we weren't even like near Dumfries, Virginia. We were still about an hour away from getting back to like DC Metro, right? And so something was like, just get over to the far right lane. I'm like, all right, let me just randomly get over. I don't know what told me to do it, but I got right over to the far right. As soon as I get to the far right lane, one of the tires just explodes, right? It's the back, was it the, it was the back driver's side tire, right? So the tire explodes, right? And next thing you know, we go straight to the left, like the whole bus just shifts straight over. All the kids are screaming. I'm about to scream too. Like I was like, oh my God. But I had to just hold it together. So I had to keep all of this together. And I'm fighting with this bus. And I was so glad we were in the far right lane because had we been on the left, we would have went straight into that median. And mind you, we were going like 65, miles an hour. And fortunately, when we were in that right lane, they just happened to be nobody in the middle lane. So when we shifted over, we didn't hit any other car. And I had to like fight with this wheel to get back over. And then the bus was jumping and twisting. And then, all right, focus, camera focus. And then eventually, there we go. And then eventually I was able to get all the way to the far right and pull over and sit there. And like the tire was like just going. I was like, what the heck just happened? But like in that moment, I could not panic like I wanted to because I've never been in a car accident. Thank you, God. All right. I've never had that. And so that would have been the most traumatizing thing to get in like a high-speed collision, driving a bus with other people's kids in it, right? On my day off. I was taking them to Funland as a reward because these were the report card kids that had did really well. So, it just like, fortunately it wasn't too bad. But what helped was because I was able to stay here the whole time, like it made a lot of the kids relax a little bit because I was talking to them while I'm still fine. Just like, it's okay, guys, I got it. And really, I did not. I'm like, I got it, y'all. We're gonna be just fine. Here we go. Just sit tight. But I'm like, God, please help us. And so, fortunately, everything was good. But I think that helped it to just stay here. So, like, the kids thought it was cool by the time we pulled over and was standing on the side of 95, right? And they had the little the shirts with the center name on it. I'm like, Lord. Anyway, but getting back to the point, I just feel that as a parent, having to bury, the mother of your children and assuring that assuring to the kids that they're going to be fine, you have to kind of put on that skin just for them in that moment, so they're assured. You know what I mean? That's just how I see it. Everybody's going to move in their own way. I do think it's perfectly fine to cry with your kids and stuff about that. It's okay. It lets everybody know you're in this together. Right. But that element of assurance, because I'm just like 6'2" and 10 months. And especially for the 10-month-old, like that's the era where they're still attached to mom's hip all the time. Right. So think about that disconnect that would be there. Like, man. And so I hope everything works out for him. And then again, his livelihood is touring. He has to be on the road. But now it's like you have to rearrange and figure out how do you do all that? Because it's just you now. I'm sure family and friends will be around and everything like that. But the kids still need dad to be there, especially now because mom is no longer there. And for him, being in a field where you're constantly on the road. You're constantly pulled in all these directions because if you don't go on the road, the bills don't get paid, right? There's not royalties and things coming in like I guess you can get some from reruns of the show, but still, like those are some tough shoes to be in. You know what I mean? And I think the next step always becomes like getting to your new norm, which is hard. I think when you lose somebody, the thing I always say is you never get over somebody that passes or transitions. You just learn to live with the fact that they're in a different space. And I think when you can accept that, that's when the healing process begins. But healing is not definite, right? It comes in waves. Like, um, sometimes you're good, sometimes you're not. I know, at least for my dad, like my dad died in 2015, and I thought I was perfectly fine. And then about 2020, 2021, that's when it really started to hit me hard. I was like, whoa. And then I just became this super emotional person. Like, I can't watch a Goofy movie, right? Okay, a Goofy movie is one of my favorite movies, but for some reason, in the scene where Max did not want to go fishing with his dad and lied when they were, going, and dad was like either go left or right. I think going one direction would have been the fishing trip, the other direction was going to be the concert. For some reason, that gets me teary-eyed every time. I don't know if it's because it's like, dang, because maybe I'm thinking back to sometimes as a teenager, I was a jerk to my parents, and I'd be thinking back, but I cannot get through a Goofy movie for some reason. I'd be teary-eyed through it, and it's not even a sad movie. Even when Powerline does Eye to Eye, I'd be choked up because him and the dad are on the stage dancing. So, like, that idea of getting to that new normal and that healing process, it just comes in layers and it comes in waves. And so I think that is a journey. And so I hope the kids and everybody will get the additional support and the counseling that's needed. And I'll say what I didn't like. I think sometimes when these things happen, especially when they're new, like fresh, like just happened 2 minutes ago and we don't even know if it's true yet. I think before people rush to place judgment, sometimes that element of empathy should come first. You can have your opinions about plastic surgery and everything like that, but in that moment, I and I just think because society already puts the pressure on people to already be perfect, especially if you're a public figure. Now, I'm not saying just go and do whatever, so be it. But I think for somebody in her shoes, part of her brand was her appearance, right? And so having the three kids, because I guess from what I understand, they said she was going and doing the mommy makeover, something that a lot of people do. Because I don't think, especially as men, I don't think we realize what women deal with pregnancy. And I didn't notice until one of my good friends had her kids, and she was telling me all the things that kept happening to her body. I was like, God, how much stuff y'all go through? Because when I was little, I just thought girls have the baby, poof, and then the stomach goes back flat and all is well. But no, it was kind of like, no, you got to take the prenatal vitamins and you got to still take them after you have the baby, or you might start losing your hair because when you were pregnant, the baby is, taking all the nutrients and you and the baby are sharing the nutrients. And so even after you have had the baby, your body's still going through the changes. You still got to keep taking the vitamins, because if you stop taking them too soon, because now you're also breastfeeding, you're going to be depleted of all these nutrients you need. And then sometimes women at certain parts of their body, the skin gets darker, like their neck or their stomach. That happens. What else goes down? There's so many different things. And then of course the skin that normally will hang after your stomach, goes back down. Now you have the skin that's hanging or and everything else like that. You have the weight gain or the weight loss or all these different things. You might get postpartum preeclampsia. There's all these different, that's what Serena ended up having. You know what I mean? And so I think, again, when you're a public figure and your brand is also your appearance, there is a pressure to appear to look like what society deems you to be in regards to what is attractive, especially in this era of IG culture, where, we're in a space where people put their lives, out for the masses to consume, but we all tend to like to put out, we put out what we want people to see us as. I won't say we, but a lot of people, right? So you're not gonna post a picture of you looking a little rough or whatever around the edge. Like even when I be doing live, I be trying to make sure I at least shave sometimes. Like at least you ain't gonna get in front of a few hundred people looking scruff McGruffish today. At least go shave or something. Put on a chain. Don't be on there looking too homely. At least spruce it up a little bit. All right, because normally, like when I'm at home, these things are flat because I be laying down, so it'd be all lopsided and everything. But there's a pressure to want to appear a certain way. And there's a pressure that's put on, especially like women in the industry, to look a certain way, because think about how we treat celebrities when we see them not looking their best. They get eaten alive. And it's for the men as well. Think about the guy, I can't remember his name, but he's the actor that was on the show Girlfriends. And some years back, like pictures of him leaked where, people hadn't seen him for years. but he had put on a lot of weight and everything, and people were chewing him up like, what happened? You know what I mean? There's a pressure to constantly look a certain way. And so if people give into that and say, well, you know what, I'm going to go and make sure I can still look a certain way, people are going to go do that. People have their own agency to do whatever they want. And sadly, I think with a lot of these surgeries, especially because I think there's just sometimes I think the idea of like a mommy makeover, in my opinion, I could be 100% wrong. Y'all can correct me, but I just feel like that's a lot of work on the body in regards to you just pushed out an 8-pound baby, right? You just pushed out a whole baby. Your insides have almost been rearranged and everything. Think about like, I'm not trying to be graphic, but think about sometimes when women have to give birth and how doctors have to go and almost position organs and everything sometimes after surgery, especially if they've had a C-section, right? But just think about how much your body already goes through with just that part. And then to go and then, I don't know, maybe you get the breast lift or you remove the skin that was hanging or whatever you do. Like that's a lot on the body. Because even when I be watching, I don't know the names of the show, but when I see them give the people the liposuction and I'm like, I always get scared because I'm like, are y'all like stabbing or like, are you stabbing the lady liver or whatever? Because the doctors just be doing this and they're not even looking at the body. They're talking to the camera. So yeah, we're just gonna lay out a few layers of fat here. And tomorrow, I'm just like, what kind of, that crap, I can't, man, listen, if I blow up, I'm gonna just be whatever size. It is what it is. But man, so that just be making me like nervous, but just, so I just think a lot of those surgeries, especially like that, I don't know what she was getting. People were talking about BBLs and all the other stuff. I don't know. I don't follow all that stuff, to be honest. I don't be knowing, but like, it's a lot. So I will say for those who choose to go that route, really do your research. And the sad part is even research sometimes is not enough. Some people just respond differently to things, right? Sometimes things go as normal, go straight through procedure, go routine, but the body just is like, no, nope, nope, nope. So I hope everything works out. But man, that's really, really sad, right? And then Father's Day is coming up too. So I know that'd be tough. And Mother's Day had just passed too. But yeah, it was sad. So yeah, when a lot of folks started jumping in and really jumping into the idea of judgment and she should have known not to go do that. I can understand that conversation. I 100% hear it. I just think in that moment, bad timing, right? This because and then at the same time, if she has agency to want to go and enhance or do whatever, she has the right to go do it. You know what I mean? That's what all these people do anyway. You see all these celebrities have babies and come back with 6-pack abs the next day. I'm not trying to place judgment on nobody, but yeah, definitely some of these people get some additional help. So yeah, it's kind of what the move is. And so, think about when you go to, if you have ever flown out of Miami or Atlanta, a lot of times you see all the people that got the donut hole seats because they just got the BBLs and they can't sit down or whatever. Listen, that's just the world we're in right now. We've become I think it's a rough society to be in. And mind you, I'm not somebody who's anti-plastic surgery. I'm not at all. If you want to go get it, go get it. Just make sure it look good, in my opinion. I don't think I'll ever need to get anything, but I have no judgment for people who decide to want to enhance things. Sometimes people want to get a breast augmentation because they're like, okay, they used to sit a certain way when I was in my 20s, but life is happening, gravity's happening, time's happening. I want them to sit back up again. Some people, may not like whatever else they've had, and they go and enhance it. So be it. Let people work in whatever space they work in. If it ain't for you, it ain't for you. Don't get one. All right, I'm going to read some comments here. And we shall keep it moving. Were they actually married? I don't know if they were married or not. I didn't again, I don't really follow Jacky O and I don't really follow DC Young Fly like that. He's a really great singer, by the way. I did catch that one time. I remember he had a song come out one time. Yeah, but man, it's tough. What up, Eric Hicks? Kathy Rodriguez said she died at the hotel. Yeah, I remember them saying they found her unresponsive in the hotel. And so I'm wondering if maybe I don't want to put stuff out there and speculate. I'm wondering if it was like an issue with like blood clotting or if it was like, something with the heart or I don't know. I just know a lot of times with a lot of surgeries too, especially if you've done like a very invasive one, that even though you may have gotten through the surgery just fine, sometimes things hit you after the fact. Sometimes it's a few days later, right? Think about like some of these other people. Like think of like Tamika Raymond when she almost had passed. When she went and had some stuff done, or even with Kanye's mom. I don't remember how soon after everything had happened did she fall ill, but yeah, things happen. There's a pressure we put on people to be perfect, and I think once we can, and I don't even think we can get out of it now. I think we're so far gone my only theory would be that the pendulum eventually swings back the other way, and people are like, all right, this is starting to be too much. Because you see, like, all them Kardashians and them are slowly transitioning back into white women again, right? They taking out the enhancements, they ain't bronzing as much, right? So who knows? But all right. Um, let's see. Classy Jewel. Wait, Calvin doesn't work with kids anymore? I didn't know that. I don't officially work at the center anymore, but I still work with the kids. And the best part is because it's in my own time, I get to do all the stuff I specifically just want to do, which is kind of cool. So yeah, I volunteer at my center usually on Thursdays and special events and anything else like that. So I just saw the kids Friday because they had their graduation event. So I'm still with the kids. When you're with a group that long for like 10, 11 years, you just don't leave and bounce. You're still heavily involved and around. So yeah, they're stuck with me. All right. Let's see. Billy Flood said, "My father died in October, and I can definitely say it comes in waves." I am sorry to hear that. Yeah, it really does come in waves. I think Billy. I think we talked about this when it close around the time when it actually happened on one of the lives before. I think. Yeah, that's tough. Um, let's see. Tyler Hackney said, "I'd be scared to lose my parents, even though I know it's inevitable." And I think the hardest part, once you lose one, you become so protective of the other. Like I almost get on my mama's nerves. Like when the pandemic first hit, I didn't want her going nowhere. I was like, "You stay in the house. You need to put on a mask." She was trying to come here to visit me. I was like, "No, you need to stay over there." Because she was, "Yeah, we're gonna drive down. Ain't no driving down over here. You stay over there. That state you in." Like and go put some bubble wrap on, like something. You become really protective of the other parent. Um, so yeah. Um, oh wow. Omega Solomon said your teeth also shift while I'm talking about a list right now, and your spine shifts as far as like pregnancy and stuff. Think about like women that have scoliosis, like where their spine is not aligned, and it's like, oh, I can imagine that. Um, dang, Queen Nanny said my teeth cracked with every one of mine. See, folks be going through stuff. Ain't no way. Lord. Birthing is 50-50. Okay, I don't want to scare people who might be pregnant on here, so I'm gonna cut back on some of these comments. Um, Afterbirth care matters as well. Thank you for that. Oh yeah, then you still got the postpartum. Uh, yeah, yeah. If I didn't have this YouTube channel, I wouldn't have had my Instagram. Like if you used to, well, a lot of y'all follow me on Instagram, but I didn't start really like even using the Instagram like that until I started correlating it with this channel because I was never into um Instagram like that. It's cool. Twitter was my poison of choice. Instagram is cool, but my life is like pretty quiet, believe it or not. So it's like I don't be having nothing to share. Y'all just be seeing me in my car. But man, actually I'm lying. My life is not quiet. I just be thinking it is. Um, let's see. Um, oh, Reggie Hayes, that's his name. Okay. And his name was William on Girlfriends. I believe he was having health issues. Yeah, and see, people don't even be knowing what's happening, folks. Think about like, remember them pictures Chadwick Boseman started coming out and he was like really, really kind of gaunt looking in the face, like really skinny, and folks was having jokes, and we didn't even know he was sick, right? You know, like you just never know. But there's a pressure, especially as a public figure, to always just kind of look a certain way and always have it together. You don't get to have even in the Janet doc, they talked about that, where she was talking about with the ex-husband, how he used to always tell her, like, you just can't go out looking like that. Every time you step out the house, you have to look a certain way. And it's funny now because like Janet ain't with him. So Janet has no problem going to the grocery store with sweatpants and a hoodie on and a big puffer jacket. You know, Janet don't be doing nothing glamorous until she get on stage. After the Janet Jackson hat comes off and she goes back to being a regular person, she be in the moo and Uggs, happy too, wearing a sweater in July. But man. Hey, Baby said they also have epidural, C-section, hair loss, milk quality, hot flashes, food cravings, then being told to snatch it back together. Oh, even like the phrase snap back. I'm sure that probably triggers people like, oh, the snap back is real. So yeah, folks be dealing with all kind of stuff. Billy Flood said those docs be punching and scooting like this, sweeping under the floor. Yeah, that liposuction thing scares me. That just If I ever were to get that, I'd have to be like, look, let me have an assistant stand there and you tell them to do it nice and slow. Like, I need you to eat because you poke my pancreas or something, I'm gonna be real pissed off. Like, man, because they just be jamming that thing. I'm like, yeah, and even if you watch when they do the other things, like what's the show? Botched. I remember I was watching that. I think somebody was doing something with the nose, even the way they were just yanking and I'm like, can you handle with care? It's my nose. Like if I get it done, if you mess it up, it's just gonna be messed up forever, no matter how many times I try to correct it. So I don't need you yanking and twisting and nope, not at all. All right. Belize guy, what are you on here talking about? Hold on. Hi there, how are you? I came in here late and wanted to roast Calvin about Janet. See, look at you coming in here at the wrong time trying to start stuff. That ain't even what we talking about. No, I was kidding. She's funny. She always got Janet jokes. So she knows it's gonna trigger me. All right. Elizabeth Lee, Mr. Michael, I miss you, man. Is this one of my kids? Elizabeth, is that you? Which Elizabeth is this? All right, I miss all y'all too. All right, let me see. Yeah, my kids be all through my stuff now. It's kind of cool. You know what was really cool too? Because I told you I was at my center Friday. I can't wait to put the other podcast episodes out. I apologize for them not coming out as frequently. It's just trying to get pull over so I can hit you handled and some other things. And then I told y'all I was doing a musical. Took up a lot of time. But like I said, the next episode comes out this weekend. But they were having like one of the cool events where they kind of celebrate all the kids that are either being promoted to middle school, graduating from high school, um, I'm sorry, being promoted from elementary to middle, promoted from middle to high, or going from high school to whatever else is next in life. So one of my old kids that came, he's I think 19 now. I did not even remember this. Sometimes you don't even remember how you work with kids, but I used to work with him when he was like 6 or 7 because he was having like a super, super, super hard time reading, like really hard. And so we used to have like it would be homework time, and he and I would go and I'd make him go get a book. I try to rotate the same three because I didn't want him to start memorizing the book and just guessing words. But we go get a book and sit with it every day. And what happened was we weren't sure if he was dyslexic, like, and so I had to have like a meeting with the mom and everything. And I don't think he's dyslexic. I think he's fine. I shouldn't say fine; it doesn't sound right, but I think he's in a space where that doesn't affect him. But he just was a little bit delayed in the beginning. But he randomly had thanked me about that. He's like, "I remember you used to sit with me right by that bookshelf." I was like, "You remember?" I had totally forgot that. I was like, because that definitely was maybe 10 years ago or 9 years ago. So you kind of forget things sometimes. So yeah, it's kind of cool how things that to you just seem like they're routine or like really small things mean everything to somebody else, which is really cool. Love Muff Rainbow Sprinkle said, "It's so rude to comment on anyone's appearance. It's not like people don't know how they look." That's like I've always said too, and I totally agree. I will never, unless you just are an absolutely terrible person, and I'm just like, you just need to feel a little bit of smoke for a quick second. I don't like to talk about people's looks, and I always say that because I always say everybody's just one car accident away from being an infomercial at 2 a.m. So that's why I don't be talking about how nobody looks, because who knows, you may be the finest person on the block today, and I see the block may fall out of the sky tomorrow. So I keep it light and bright when it comes to how people look. Um, I did see some articles where you're talking about that specific doctor had a lot of complaints filed against him and a few lawsuits that were thrown out. But I haven't really followed up with this story all the way, so we'll kind of see how this unfolds. But it comes with a risk, anytime any part of you gets open and something gets altered, there's a risk, even if it seems like it's a routine procedure. Hell, even if you get dental work done, right? Man. All right, let me see here. Um, Wait, okay. Okay, good. My chat's all caught up. Perfect. All right, we are going to keep it moving. I'm gonna read like 3 more comments and then we're just gonna keep going. What? Don't ever watch brain surgery. They hammer into the brain like a hammer time construction site. Back in the day, like before like modern medicine and modern surgeries, especially like if people had migraines, they used to have this gadget that drilled into people's skull because they felt like you could just ease the pressure. I'm like, that sounds even worse. And now I got a hole in my head. I'm gonna have a patch of hair missing permanently because y'all done, what? Okay, that's some crazy stuff. Hmm. And they said, I think I went through major postpartum. D. Bradford said, Michael, that was me with my mom during COVID. She had kidney transplant, or she's a kidney transplant patient. So I was like, don't nobody go to her house. I will take care of all of her needs. Yeah, that was the reason I did not visit my grandpa in 2020, because I was afraid that I would catch it and bring it to him, and that would be the end of him. So I was like, I'll just stay in DC until things slow down. I was like, I do not want to bring it. And at the same time, if you follow me long enough, that's when I had all those polyps in my lungs. So I was terrified of getting that because I was afraid that was going to take me out. So I was like, nope. So, man. All right. Let us. Oh, Tina Turner. This is a sad live. After Tina, we're going to go to some happy stuff. I did want to get about Tina because if you don't know, I rocked with some Tina Turner, right? So I went to LA. What day was that? I forgot already. Was that last week? I went on Wednesday, whatever day Tina died. So I went to LA on the 24th. Yeah, I went to LA for 24th and was there for about a week. Um, Literally as I'm on the plane, like it's kind of dope now. I flew I flew Alaska Airlines. That's my favorite airline. But I was so happy because their Wi-Fi is now down to $8. Okay. It used to be like $30 for the full flight. So it's down to $8 for the flight. And so literally as I was on the plane, you get the announcement that Tina Turner had passed. I was like, dang, right? And what's crazy is, like, mind you, she was 83. That's a very long life. That's a good life. I mean, life happens, and she had a lot of things happening with illnesses, and I think she had a stroke and had cancer and all these other things happening. But 83 is still, a pretty decent lifespan. I almost tell myself, like, let me stop traveling, because every time I travel somewhere, one of these celebrities die. When Aretha died, I had just went to New York because I got invited to TRL because Janet had the Made for Now video premiere, and they gave me a nice little invite. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, as soon as I had got to Manhattan, like, Aretha had died as we were coming out of the tunnel. I'm like, what the heck, man? So I was like, let me not, I ain't going nowhere else. But no, Tina just to me was I just think for me, she might have been one of the greatest performers, just period. Just there's something about her that I loved. And I think what I loved is she just had this extra grit and this energy and stamina, and she knew how to command the stage. And I think what always attracted me to both her and maybe even somebody like a Janet is Tina wasn't afraid to get, like, down and dirty on stage. She could, like, you could put her on a stage next to a male performer and she would give them a run for their money. Like, if, like, James Brown, in my opinion, is one of the greatest, but I feel like you could put Tina and James on the stage together and they would have been neck and neck as far as what they were giving the audience, because she just had that kind of that oomph with her. And she kind of acknowledged that, where she said, yeah, I'm kind of a rough performer. I'm not really as prissy or sassy or sensual. I get out there and I'm gonna give you a show. So I've always loved that about her. And it's crazy. We were just talking about her, I think 2 lives ago, when I was telling y'all how her and Ike's version of Land of a Thousand Dances has always been my favorite, just because I love the way that they did that arrangement, and how, Tina and them, they just first of all, black people speed everything up anyway, right? And I said this before, like, the original version is real, like, na 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 na. Na, 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 na. Like, this thing is dry. And so when you hear that Tina version, it's like, tell, go on, Tina. And then she done went up like 2 octaves, and I was like, oh, put your hand on your hip. I'm like, go on, Tina. So I always like that version. But I always thought she was a really dope live performer. And I think when you talk about the idea of, especially women entertainers that have choreography or dancers, she's definitely one of the pioneers in that, as far as transitioning stage shows where, yeah, you can be a great singer, but people want to also see you kind of move a little bit. And so I think that segued into the space where you would eventually have that next generation of entertainers that did a bit more on stage, and then it kind of transitions. I always say Beyonce and Janet are Tina's, like, daughters and a niece. You know what I mean? Like, it's just that lineage that runs down. And so Tina just was always dope to me. She had a documentary come out, I think 2021. It's really, really good. Definitely check that one out. And I think even watching that, I knew, like, okay, yeah, she's ready to go, kind of. You know what I mean? But she's just always been great. All of her concert tours are really good. My favorite, I've said a million times, I love the 24/7 tour. That's the one from 2000. And what's funny is, by then she's like 60 or maybe 59 or something, right? Because all the shows are great. The Private Dancer tour was cool. Foreign Affair tour was good. What's Love Got to Do with It tour was good. The Wildest Dreams tour was, like, all the shows are good. Like, Tina knows, like, there's a standard she has with her shows. There's going to be a certain element of musicality that's there. right? She's not going to be up there just BSing, right? There's going to be a certain standard of how she wants the singers to, project and how they're going to carry the song, how her dancers are going to, how they're going to move, how they're going to look, how the band is going to sound. And she's one who incorporates the band into everything. Like, especially if you really used to follow her, she was somebody where you knew all of her bands. She's somebody that kind of kept the same band around for years. So even like Kenny Moore, God rest his soul, that was like the black piano player she had. He died some years back. But like, they were always just like, there's certain artists who have people that just they work with forever, that you just always you associate them with. So with her live show, she always kind of kept the same folks. So I always like watching her do Better Be Good to Me. And I always like watching it progress over the years. There's always a portion where there's like the music break, and she'll go to one of the guitarists and he sings a part, and then she sings a part, and then the other guitarist sings a part. So it's kind of cool to watch the guitarist age as you follow the tours. Like, the hair used to be way down here, and by the time they get to like 2009, and the hairlines and the hair done got thin, body a little bit different. You might have had to bring the notes down a bit. So it's kind of cool to see that. But man, that's when I hated to see go. I hate watching so many greats just transition. And I understand it's life, right? We're all here for whatever time we're here, but we all got a reservation at the cemetery or the urn, right? Or at this point, they got the tree pods if you want to be buried and turned into a tree. And so yeah, I just think what was dope with her as well, the idea of defying age. The music industry is extremely ageist, extremely, especially against women, right? So for her to be in her 40s and the 80s at a time when the music industry was fickle, and for her to be able to make the comeback that she had, right? And then become this massive touring artist for like the next 2 decades. And, when I think she won 9 Grammys in total, all these Grammys and all kind of, she sang the theme song for 007 and all these really great things. And mind you, Cena was doing stadium tours in her 60s and 70s, which is really dope, right? She kind of just goes and shows that, music is universal. And I think the beef I've always had with the music industry is that there's too many people up top who want to dictate what it is that the people want to consume. And a lot of times they're out of the loop. Because even with Tina, nobody was trying to give her a chance. She had four solo albums before Private Dancer, right? Nobody really thought she was going to be a viable anything, because it was like, oh, she's like 40. Ain't nobody about to go see grandma. What was funny, I think I talked about it before. I had saw this article one time. This was about Madonna. And at the time, Madonna was like 32, right? She was on whatever tour she is when she had the fade or she had the short hair. And there's this article, and it's like, hang it up grandma or something. I was like, grandma at 32, really? Okay. Y'all be trying to phase out all the talented people, and then the folks that be following after don't even be that great. You know what I mean? So I just thought it was dope. If I'm talking music, my first memory of her music, as far as like what's circulating, would have been like the I Don't Want to Fight No More song, because I remember that being on MTV in the mornings when my mom would take me to daycare, and that's probably about 93, I think, right? So that's like my first memory of her music. And then you start hearing the big hits in the grocery store and stuff, and you start associating it like, oh, that's her. But even then, when that song used to come on, I never realized, okay, this is like a lady at the time that I think was in her 50s, because I think music is ageless, honestly. It's kind of timeless. If it sounds good, it sounds good. And I think when you're that age, because at that time I would have only been maybe 5 or maybe 4, I'm just moving to what I hear. It sounds great. That's why I always talk about like Patti LaBelle's Feels Like Another One. That's that song off the Burning album where it's her and Big Daddy Kane. That came out in like 91, but that's still one of my favorite songs. That one goes in. That's New Jack Swing, Patti LaBelle. But little old me had no idea this is like a woman, like I think she was in her 50s by then, singing this song. I just thought that was what all the hip folks were doing. So it's kind of sad that the industry likes to put a cap on when people can flourish. Fortunately, I think music speaks for itself. And in this era of social media, the consumer is really starting to shift the narrative. I think it's really cool that Miguel Sure Thing was like top on radio recently and like top of like pop iTunes chart and everything. I think that's really dope. It shows that, people don't need to be spoon fed what to get into, just let the music speak for itself. But as far as Tina, yeah, if I had a favorite recording, I really probably River Deep Mountain High. I think that's probably one of the greatest just songs. Period. Just the way Phil Spector was crazy as I don't know what, but the way that the song is put together with the band, it sucks that song didn't really blow up in the U.S. But I think that's probably one of her greatest performances as far as just what she did in the studio. I used to always do this random thing. Even when I was in California the other week, we went to like the Academy Museum, but they have this big old opening where you like step out and it's just hills and a balcony. And as soon as I got out there, I was like, and it gets stronger. Like just stupid. Like, I don't know. It just feels like some freedom when you step outside. I love that song. And I also thought what was dope, most of her songs she recorded, she only would record songs that she felt would excite her to perform live. Cause she always said she's a performer first, then a singer, right? So I always thought that was cool. Um, I'm gonna wrap it up on Tina, but yeah, she definitely left a mark. I did go and visit her star too while I was out there, which is pretty cool. You know that they has like some nice flowers and stuff out there for her. But yeah, it's always sad to see them go. This is why I'm always trying to like celebrate all the legends and the seasoned acts while they're here. This is why I be going to all these concerts and spending money because you know these people aren't going to perform forever. Eventually, people say, "All right, I want to go live my life now," or Father Time calls people home and things happen. So you know, all right, let's read some comments here. Mm, mm, mm. All right, where are we at here? Okay. Oh, yeah, still talking about plastic surgery right here. Um, where am I at here? Okay, here we go. Sorry, I had to find. Okay, what I do is like when I do this chat here, I stop it at a certain point and then talk and run my mouth all day, and then I try to scroll back down and get to the bottom. So I'm trying to find my placing from where I left off. All right. Um, Here we go. They said, "Oh, you guys still talking about your parents? I'm overprotective with mine. My dad passed in '09 from a car accident. If my mom is driving to visit me 5 hours, I call her every other hour to check her location. LOL. I've gotten better. Yeah, I think it's even worse if you lose somebody in some kind of accident or some kind of violent crime. I think those are the worst ways to lose somebody. It definitely like rips a band-aid that's like, man, yeah, that's tough. Um, let's see. Somebody says simply the best, better than all the rest. For those in Washington State, okay, you guys remember Centralia Factory Outlets? And they had the song that was like written in the melody of Simply the Best, like as good as it gets, doom, 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 Centralia Factory Outlets, doom, doom, doom. That commercial used to crack me up, but it's also the reason why I've never liked Hezekiah Walker's That Every Praise Is to Our God song, because I was like, this is such an attempt at Simply the Best. He's trying to make a gospel stadium anthem, and I don't like it. I like Hezekiah is one of my favorites as well, but I like the throwback Hezekiah. Once he switched over and was trying to get the stadium bangers for the Christian conventions. I was like, you can keep all them songs, but man, all right. Um, for all 10 of you from Washington State on here. All right. Lynn B said, actual surgery, like repairing internal things, is slower, more gentle, and careful. Yeah, I see that. It's just that liposuction stuff they be doing. They be just yanking and nope. Oh no, not for me. All right. Um, Poison Ivy said, I was in Paris when Prince passed and lost it. Prince died when there was a certain organization that gets on my nerves, but they donated to my center and gave us a truckload of supplies. But in order to get the supplies, I had to go to their event. And those are some of the most snooty people. And it just did not help that Prince had just died as I was pulling into the event. So I was like already out of it. And then I had to deal with them attitudes from the people. I was about to be like, look, y'all can take these pencils and shove it. Like, oh, that was a day. Um, Nick said Tina ran so Beyonce could run. One of the things somebody said that was really good with a lot of the pioneers is that in addition to kind of like paving the way, how did they say it? They make it easier to maneuver the road for other artists because they've like as you go, you run over the potholes and seal them over, right? You run past the areas where there was water and you had to hydroplane and all the other stuff. Like you've gone through all of that already, and so now there's pretty much almost a set of directions of what to do and what not to do, so you don't have to go the same route. You know what I mean? Or you don't have to do the same nonsense, and so people can get further and further. Like for me, I think how it should work is each generation with whatever artist should become bigger than the previous generation. They should be making accolades and hitting milestones that the ones before them haven't hit. That's how it's supposed to be. Um, and there are some who are able to do that, but you know, that's how the music industry is. It's just gonna do what it does. It's a weird space now. Um, we don't need another hero was their favorite. That's interesting. Okay, Jalil said Tina was the foundation for me, whereas Janet made the blueprint. I like that. Belize girl, be quiet. I don't want to hear nothing on that one. Um, let's see. I did not get to see the Broadway play. I should have went and saw it. It was here in October. Uh, I know it's gonna be sold out now. I ain't never gonna get to see it. Um, that's true. When the greats leave, it is felt. I agree. Tyler Hackner, Private Dancer is one of the greatest comebacks of all time. I really like the Private Dancer song as well. Like I really love like when she kicks into that last gear and goes up that octave. I'm gone, Tina. Like saying she really take it there. I'm your private dancer, dancer for money. Like, oh, Tina, do what you want me to do. And then when she gets to that part where she, do you want to see me do that shimmy again? I'm like, oh, Tina. Oh, yeah, that was a fun album. Avocado Queen said, Calvin, not to shake the table, because there's always one. No, I was kidding. But there seems here, but it seems Tina made every effort to distance herself from her blackness. She once said Africans are lazy people who just live off the land. I know what clip you're talking about. That's the clip from the 70s where they were on tour in South Africa, which I was side-eyeing. I'm like, why are y'all touring South Africa doing apartheid? We were supposed to all be boycotting. Um, I will say, I don't know if I agree with the idea of her distancing herself from her blackness. I always felt she just distanced herself from her entire past life. She just wanted nothing to do with it. And so I feel like a lot of folks got cut off. And the reason I don't always agree with that is because people always say, oh, she made like music for white people and her whole crew and entourage were white. But then if you like pay attention, like, you know, half of her band was black, all her background singers were black. She worked with Lisa Fisher, she worked with Stacey Campbell. And there's an I wish I could find the interview. There's an interview where she talks about the experiences of being it might have been, I don't know if it's 60, it's one of these shows, but she talks about, you know, being a black woman coming into rock and roll, which was not a lane for them at all, and what she had, how she had to fight against, you know, that the white male patriarch type of industry setup that they weren't trying to let her in certain doors, you know. So I think personally, I just think the life that she had, because even in the documentary, she talks about how she just had a horrible life and what it felt like to never be loved and all this other stuff. I just think some people, when they deal with what they deal with, they choose to just remove themselves from anything that gives them memory of that experience and they go and try to start over. So I think that might have just been her journey. And then I think also in regard to, because that, listen, now that statement she made, I was looking at her real sideways. I'm like, Tina, really, Tina, really? Come on, man. But I think too, with a lot of these celebrities, the same thing I've always said, like when it comes to politics or world affairs, I don't look to celebrities for anything because I know they're gonna always disappoint me. Always. They're gonna always end up saying something you don't like, especially because Tina already would have not been educated on any of that anyway, right? You know, she started with Ike, I think at 17, barely had an education. So world affairs and everything like that, she, in my opinion, might have been somebody who saw Europeans as a standard of how to do things or what to aspire to be like at that time, because that would have been her headspace, in my opinion. Does it mean it's right? No, that's just how I see it. But I just think she chose that life as escapism. To be honest, I just think that's why even when she said she never even saw her own movie, she said like, yeah, it reminds her of too much stuff, so she never saw it. I'm like, damn. Or maybe if she did see it, it was in the last few years. So I don't know. Everybody has their own experience. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, it looked like she looked comfortable when she went to what was Oprah's Legends Ball thing. Was her and all her and Della Reese and Diana and Shaka and all. They all seem to be having a good time. She was right there rocking with "Oh Happy Day." They ain't passing the mic though. But all right, let me see. Said Judge Joe Brown drag Tina. That man, Judge Joe Brown be on so much other. He tell let me. I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say. He got enough stuff going on. All right. Harrison said, I hate how people made fun of her getting abused. That would be another thing too. Like every time somebody references you, they got an Ike joke, right? Think about how many times you see that Ike meme where he, you know, he looking back. with that. How many times do you see that meme float around social media? So I guess some people escape to do whatever they need to do to make their internal peace. So, she didn't really know peace until after almost age of 50, once she finally found love. I guess that's her experience. It ain't mine, but you know, um, somebody said the fact Tina achieved success in Europe explains America's racist and narrow-minded views. But I'll say to that as well. The United States, in regard to the music industry, there, like I said before, there's a really bad issue with ageism, right? If you go to Europe, if you go to Japan, just culturally things are a little bit different, where they're a bit more receptive to acts that are older. This is why a lot of our seasoned acts tend to stay on tour overseas all the time. And even people who may have only had one or two or three hits can still have viable careers overseas, because the way that the industry has been set up. It may have kind of shifted now in modern times, but the people are a bit more receptive to just the music. The United States has always been very quick and go, you're only as good as your last hit. What have you done for me lately? Right? It's really easy to dismiss and brush people off really quick over here. And so I think a lot of people tend to shift over and go elsewhere, overseas, because so with Tina, she had whole tours that were only in Europe that she didn't even bring over here, because as great as Private Dancer was, you go about 2 albums later, nobody was buying the albums anymore. The movie, in my opinion, was kind of a resurgence of her music, because by the time you got to 88, 89, the albums weren't doing that great. Private Dancer, I think, sold 16 million. The album that came afterwards had only done about 2 or 3 million. So it's different. But America does have racist and narrow-minded approaches as well. Let me see. Said she had to pick cotton at 3 years old. She later in life married a European and moved to Switzerland. I get that she was embraced and ended up having more success in Europe than the States. The story with her and the guy she married, I remember, I think she talks about it. It's either in her book or the movie. She just found him attractive and really went up to the. Should I tell this? Yeah, hell, she told it. She said, yeah. She pretty much told him, yeah, I want you to make love to me. I'm like, oh, go on and get what you want, Tina. Like, Lord, okay, straight to the point. And they hit it off after that, and I guess it worked. Good for her. But yeah. Let's see. She traced her roots to African American Live season 2 with Dr. Henry Louis Gates. Oh, I didn't know she was on that. Okay. All right, we got to move on soon. I got a whole bunch of other stuff we need to cover. Um, all right. Say, oh, Avocado Queen. Are you gonna be on the next? Oh, she always comes on the Zoom parties. I don't know if she comes to book club. Thank you. I appreciate your point of view. Maybe I need to reflect a bit more my opinion of Tina, but was side-eyeing after that comment she made. Well, no, I think anybody has a right to be offended at them statements, because the first time I saw that clip, and that's in reference to what she said about the people on the continent, I'm like, okay. I was okay. Like I said, I be trying to not look to my favorite people for what their opinions on anything, because as soon as they open their mouth, they get disappointed. You know what I mean? No matter how much you like somebody or how highly you think of them, eventually they're gonna say or do something that disappoints you. Like, listen, y'all were letting me have it with my Ebony K. Williams opinion. So listen, there's moments. Yeah, everybody's gonna let you down at some point. So, all right, we are going to keep it moving, just because there's a few more things to jump into. Hey man, there's so much going on. All right, this one's sad too. Okay, I promise after this one that the rest will not be as sad. Okay. Cyrus Carmack-Belton. All right, I want to read the article first, and then we will talk. Where is the article that I had? I just had it, and now I lost it. I'm gonna have to find it again. And I found it. Okay. All right. Let's see. Is this the one I want? Yes. Here we go. All right. So, long story short, if you haven't seen this story, this is about the gas station owner that shot the 14-year-old because he assumed that the 14-year-old was shoplifting. Now, we've heard this kind of story many times before, right? But I'm going to read the article and then we'll jump into it. All right. Gas station owner who shot Cyrus Carmack-Belton has shot others. So, mind you, this person has done it more than once, right? Rick Chow shot a man in the leg at his store in Columbia, South Carolina in 2018 and at a shoplifter's car in 2015. Police ruled he was acting in self-defense. So he never faced charges. Chow shot and killed Cyrus Carmack-Belton, 14, on Sunday. This is Sunday of this is this past Sunday. Okay. On Sunday after mistakenly thinking he had stolen stolen bottled water. Water, people. Literally water. All right. The South Carolina gas station owner charged with murdering an unarmed 14-year-old boy who he shot in the back after wrongly accusing him of shoplifting. Previously shot at two other thieves in his besieged store. Rick Chow, 58, is in custody for the murder of Cyrus Carmack-Belton, an armed 14-year-old who he chased out of his store in Columbia, South Carolina on May 28. Chow and his adult son thought Cyrus had stolen bottled water. Cops say surveillance footage proves that he didn't. The store owner and his son chased him. See, this is where we run into the problems. Chased him outside, and when they realized he had a gun, Chow fired a single shot in his lower right back. Chow, whose legal record is clean, aside from some speeding violations. See, they see how they be trying to like brush over and try to already paint a picture of the two. So they couldn't wait to tell you the kid had the gun, but they want to talk about him, the person who just killed somebody, having a clean record. Like we didn't just read about him shooting the two other people. Whatever. Whose legal record is clean aside from some speeding violations, is in custody awaiting a bond hearing. Police say that because Cyrus never drew his weapon or pointed it at them, they cannot argue self-defense. Sheriff Leon Lott told Daily Mail earlier this week that Chow admitted to deputies that the boy never drew his weapon, but y'all want to be trigger hungry and shoot everybody and then talk about them having a weapon as if that was supposed to be justification for somebody to die. It can now be revealed that over the last 5 years, Chow has called Richard County Sheriff's deputies for hundreds of times asking for help. The calls range from reports of shoplifting to larceny, assault, motor vehicle theft, vandalism, robbery, and burglary. Sunday's incident is not the first time he has fired his weapon. They have like this whole like graphic of like the map of where everything is at and what happened with the time frame. I'm gonna bypass that just for the sake of time. In 2015, a female customer tried to steal 2 cases of Bud Light and a packet of peanuts from the store. Chow confronted her in the parking lot and the pair had a fight. Police reports obtained by Daily Mail describe how she yelled, "I'm going to shoot you," before getting into a waiting car with a male friend. Chow, whose glasses had been broken in the fight. See, they're trying to see. Let me read this and stop giving my opinion. I'll share that in a second. Whose glasses had been broken in a fight, retrieved his weapon, and fired 6 shots at their car. No one was injured, and Chow was not charged. In 2018, he shot Alex Aguilera, I wonder if that's Christina's cousin, 23, after he attempted to steal a can of Easy Off from the shelf. Chow followed him out of the store and demanded that he pay for it. The man then struck him in the face. Chow pulled his weapon and fired 2 shots, shooting the man in the leg. Dang, Chow be unloading the clip for real. Shit. All right. Aguilera was taken into custody after being treated in the hospital. He later pleaded guilty to charges of relating to the incident. Chow was never charged over either of the incidents because sheriffs ruled that he was acting within self-defense. They are, however, convinced that he murdered Cyrus. Let me see. The store has been victimized quite often with shoplifting. That has nothing to do with y'all killing some kid. The owner has confronted shoplifters in the past, and there have been physical altercations in the past. He has been assaulted in the past, and he has shot someone who attacked him, but in that case was self-defense. In other incidents, the use of force has been justified. This time it was not. Sheriff Leon Lott told DailyMail.com earlier this week. Okay, so here's my beef. One, the beef I always have, especially when the media breaks these stories, is you see how they kind of try to paint a full picture that really has no correlation with anything that the victim who is now dead did, right? You know, all the stories of what else anybody else did, and the lady who stole the 2 Bud Lights and some peanuts, or the person who stole the mosquito repellent, that has nothing to do with Cyrus, right? And then he couldn't wait to tell you that Cyrus was armed, even though, you know, the store owner saying he didn't even see Cyrus show the weapon or brandish it or anything. He just saw that it was probably on his waist. I'll keep my opinion about a 14-year-old having a gun for another conversation. But the point being, again, you keep seeing this pattern where for a lot of these people, especially when it comes to Black people who come into their businesses or come into their stores, they feel that they're in a space of superiority where if something goes down where that person is not behaving in a manner that they think is appropriate, they have the right to just go full out level 10 any element of violence, even if it means killing somebody, and then claiming self-defense. The idea of you running and chasing him out of the store is automatically where the self-defense conversation goes out the window. Because at the end of the day, kid, one, didn't have anything. And even if he did have anything, by him running out of the store. There's no conversation for self-defense because he is retreating. He is leaving the scene. He is not the aggressor. He's not attacking you. He is running out of the store. So then you purposely shoot him in the back on the side. So that's not self-defense. So no, that's not how this works. But it's just interesting that a lot of times with the media publications, they love to try to almost paint the person that does the actual offense as, you know, they're a victim because there had been all of these robberies and everything else in the neighborhood. And so, you know, they're trying to paint a picture just to get that kind of sympathy and everything like that. So the court of public opinion can kind of almost sway in the direction of the child guy. And clearly, in my opinion, he doesn't need to have a store in this specific neighborhood if this is, you know, how he's going to move every single time, where you're constantly, you know, going after folks and everything. Like, listen, all this stuff is insured anyway. And so my thing is, if you are that afraid to work in a community, you don't need to be in it. And we've seen this before. Like we talk about Latasha Harlins out of LA, where again, accused of stealing the orange juice and a lady shot and killed her. And then didn't even have to do any jail time. They just let her, you know, get time served for whatever little bit of time that she was in before the actual trial, right? They play in our faces. And so a lot of times when it gets to a place where somebody has chased somebody and starts shooting at them, this is no longer about, and it still wouldn't be justified. This is no longer about the product being taken from the store. Because again, it would have just been a water where, again, nothing was stolen. But had it had been a water, this is not about the product being stolen. Now, at this point, when you're chasing somebody out the store and you're drawing a weapon, this is now ego, right? This is all ego. This is that element of being in a space where you want to control those that you see yourselves as being above, or those that you see as being less than you, where you have the right to do this because these are people that are already just, you know, they're the bottom tier demographic of society. And this is what these people do. So I have to do this because it's well within my right. That's how these people move with that kind of stuff. And that's why we saw what happened with Jordan Davis, where, you know, the guy goes and tell him and his friends at the gas station, your music's too loud, turn it down. They tell him where he can go. And what does he do? Shoots at a moving car, shoots at Jordan Davis's car at the gas station. Imagine shooting the gas tank and everything blowing up, right? Shooting a moving vehicle that's retreating. The man, again, tries to claim he was self-defense, he was threatened, but at the end of the day, he shoots at the kid, kills the kid, goes and orders a pizza, and goes and hangs with his girlfriend. So how scared did you have to be? You still had time to eat. Kind of like Cosby. Let's see now. You had donuts, right? Or even we did this video before. I don't remember which video, but I definitely talked about Isaac Woodard, who was a World War II vet, where he was on the bus. And I can't remember what he asked the bus driver. I don't know if he had asked the bus driver, like, where was the location to stop for the bathroom or something. Bus driver said something real smart to him. So he pretty much told the bus driver where he could go. What did the bus driver do? Bus driver's like, oh, you N-words ain't about to talk to me like that. You know, he calls the police. They snatch up Isaac and they go and beat this man down so bad and gouge out his eyes to the point where he's blind, right? So again, you kind of see that energy where when it comes to a lot of Black folks, people think they have agency over us and everything that we do. And so when we fall into a space where they believe we are not performing in the way that we should in regards to behavior, they feel that they can just unload the clip and do whatever, right? And so clearly this child man clearly has no regard for the residents of the area in which he works, right? It's business as usual, and if you go against the business, then I guess you just gotta die, or I'm gonna chase you out and punch you. Like, I just don't understand it. You have surveillance cameras. If you have surveillance cameras, you just document the people that are stealing everything, put their pictures on us, whatever, and say they're no longer welcome here. And then when they do come, then I don't like always having to call the police for things, but then that would be when the police would come and handle that, because it is not your job to try to be, judge, jury, and executioner over a bottled water, right? It's already stupid. We got to pay for water anyway. Water's outside. Water's supposed to be free, right? It's like that guy on Common View that time where he was like, next they're going to be charging us for air. You're going to be walking in because you ain't paid the air bill. But it goes back to those same conversations we have as far as especially being in stores a lot of times that are Asian run. Like if you're a Black person, you kind of know that experience where you walk in the store and sometimes you get followed. I've talked about my friend whose mom had the hair beauty supply store, that they had. And so the owners of the rival stores, because these were all Asian owned, used to come into my friend's mom's store and kind of see how they were doing things and taking notes, because they had like a wig boutique and everything, and they had portions where the women could go and put the wig on, try it in the mirror, and she would cut it, whatever they do with all that stuff. And they went and took notes, and fast forward a few weeks, they're doing the same thing. And so I just remember one time we just happened to go into their store, and the way, I don't know if they recognized the lady's daughter that was with us, but man, way we got followed in that store. I mean, aisle to aisle. I'm like, y'all don't got to worry about me stealing nothing. And at the time, I didn't have hair. It was like I was wavelength at the time. So I'm like, man, it's just absolutely crazy that, again, a bottle of water that wasn't there. You accused him of stealing something. He didn't steal anything. He ran out of the store. And most likely, I'm sure there's more to that story. For him running out the store, I'm sure he probably felt threatened, right? And then you shoot him in the back, kill him, and then have the nerve to claim self-defense. And the only reason they can even utter the idea that, or even have the nerve to think that they can even claim self-defense, is really because this kid is black. Because if they are able to manipulate a jury, they can paint this kid to be violent and then latch onto the fact that he had a gun and milk it there. When, again, what's so funny, we're so pro Second Amendment in this country, right? Every governor is just, making all these crazy draconian laws where you don't even need permits anymore. Everybody just go get one, and you can have a gun in the library, and you can have it in church, and it's fine. At some point, I'm sure they'll say you can bring your gun back through the airport and bring it on the flight. Do what you got to do. Because remember, back in the day, you actually could bring your gun on the plane, like up to the back in the 70s. But anyway, yeah, so I can already see how they're going to paint this, and they're going to do that same cycle we talked about. It's getting to the point where sometimes these conversations get tiring, because I'm like, how many times have I talked about this? And it's crazy because it's just always a different person each and every time, right? Crazy. A bottle of water. That was worth you pulling out the Glock and I wonder when black people are going to get their anti-hate crime bill. That's all I'm saying, right? Anyway, I'm going to pause on that. I swear that's the last heavy story I think we're going to do. The rest will be, still got to talk about Jamie Foxx. The rest will be somewhat lighter. Okay, let me read some comments and then we shall keep it going. Jalil said Break Every Rule did 12 million worldwide. Yeah, she was still doing well overseas, but the United States has slowed down. By the time you get to, the other albums, they're only scanning like platinum or maybe double platinum in the United States. So, yeah. I think I said worldwide earlier. So, okay, I see that correction. But yeah, Tina definitely broke that attendance record with that 180,000 at one time. I think in, what country was that? Was that Brazil? One of y'all know, one of them countries. Yeah, she gives a show. Shah Jim Dropper, he donated his kidney to Tina, didn't he? Yeah, her husband gave her his kidney. I'm like, yeah, that's some love there. Because I'd be scared to do that. Because what if then maybe your kidney goes bad? Now you don't have one at all. Like, I hope I'm never put in that predicament. They'd be like, Michael, can we get your kidney? I'm like, have you been juicing? Have you been drinking water? Well, let's think about it. Hold on, I need mine. Billy Flood said Earth Kit was 41 when she was blacklisted, and Europe celebrated her and allowed her to thrive. I get a lot of these folks went to Europe. Now, listen, don't think Europe was a utopia of greatness and they love black people over there. They didn't. They just had their racism was just a little bit different, right? The racism we had in the United States was redlining and the Klan, and you can't work in these spaces. But they definitely had their elements of racism in Europe as well too, and still do. I'm telling you, as somebody who lived over there, it's a lot of mess over there too. But yeah, I get it. D-Nice 1126. At the time, the U.S. conditioned people to believe Africa as a whole was a certain way, which I totally agree with. Like I've said that before. Like my perception of Africa before I became, as far as the continent, because even then you didn't even realize it was a bunch of countries. You just thought it was one big old place, and it was just animals roaming free, and that was Africa. That's what we saw. And if you didn't see that, you saw the 80 cents a day kid commercial with the kids that had kwashiorkor. That's what I saw until I became an adult. And thank God for college, you get educated on these things, because even in high school, we never talked about anything with the continent. We never talked about Leopold and what he did in the Congo. We were never taught about Patrice Lumumba, or, we never talked about, we kind of knew about South Africa and apartheid. And I only learned that because of watching The Color of Friendship on Disney, right? That's the only reason I even heard of Stephen Biko at the time. We didn't get to know about, the Italians trying to colonize Ethiopia and failing at it. We didn't really get to hear about, the Arab migration into Northern Africa. None of that. You might have heard about Egypt, but they were telling us that aliens built the pyramids, right? And then we didn't even realize that pretty much pyramids were across the entire continent, and they weren't just in Egypt and there's actually more pyramids in Sudan, or if you put the two Sudans together, because they split in two now. There's more there than in Egypt, and even in the western portion they had that. You never heard about no Mantimus. Like none of that was taught to us. So I can imagine what they were being taught during her, time period. And so I feel like each generation is supposed to do better than the next. So now that the education and the information is out there, there shouldn't be anybody else that has those kind of perceptions. You know what I mean? That's how I see it. Yes, a bottle of water, Shanti, a bottle of freaking water. I ain't gonna lie. Can I say that without getting demonetized? Just know, if I lived in that neighborhood, I don't think the store would have been there anymore. That's all I'll say. I'll just keep it at that. Like, where the match is at, because ain't no way. Lee's guy said, shooting to kill. If he felt the need to do all that, why not just shoot a warning shot, if at all? I think, but my question with that too, even if you shot a warning shot to a kid that's running away, what is that shot supposed to do? Like, is that supposed to make him stop running and turn around? Because then you're really about to get shot. You know what I mean? And again, there wouldn't have been anything to warn him from because he hadn't done anything. He was leaving. I could see if it was a conversation where, like, he had attacked the store owner and they were like, duking it out. Then, okay, I hear that. Then the stories of, okay, all these different people that have attacked him before and everything, so he carries the gun for his own protection. Then I could almost start to see the reasoning behind why that could have, people might have thought that might have been an appropriate response. But in this instance, there's nothing to shoot a warning shot about, especially when, if it was for some water, I'm still stuck in it being water. And honestly, it doesn't matter what it would have been that came out of the store. You're killing somebody for taking something that's probably less than $10. No matter, think about a convenience store. Nothing in there is more than $10. Most likely, unless you get a good scratch off ticket or something. Nothing in there is more than $10. So whatever has been taken out, it was worth you chasing somebody out the store. You know what I mean? Like, and then you killed him. You literally killed him. You could have, first of all, the kid lives in the neighborhood. You know what he looks like. They'll probably come back to the store again, and then that's when you identify them and ban them from the store. Like, are you serious? Like, I think I told you all the time my brother had stole the beef jerky from Walmart, and Walmart had called me while I was in college. Right? Like, that would have been like them shooting my brother over some beef jerky on his birthday. He hates when I share this story, but I'm sorry, Marcus. But yeah, like crazy. All right. Freaking bottle of water. Yes, the kid unfortunately is no longer alive. I want to see confirmation about the kid also having a weapon too. I didn't, I don't know about, if so, that's another conversation. But still, if he did not draw any weapon or do anything, there was no reason for you to shoot him. And again, your defense argument dies because you shot him in the back, like towards the side. So he was running away. That's retreating. That's why I got really, really pissed with the Zimmerman stuff when all these folks there are people who still will fight me tooth and nail about the Zimmerman crap and still feel that he was justified in killing Trayvon. And I'm like, y'all all y'all just stupid. Everybody just stupid. Stupid. Exactly, Jr. Always criminalizes the victim. How do we know he was armed? That's my point. And it goes back to what I was saying about even the article, how they couldn't wait to say, okay, there's the weapon here. And then they bring up all these other instances of people who have nothing to do with this kid that has just died. Absolutely nothing to do with it. But, piece it all together. That's what they did with Ahmaud Arbery as well. When they were talking about, a gun went missing from my boat a few weeks ago. And somehow they just associate us with crime, period. So it must have been this guy who's been looking at empty houses that are under construction. It's all tiring. It is really tiring. All right. Don Smart. I clearly remember that girl shot in LA. Yeah, that was horrible. And I really think too, that plus everything with Rodney King, like that really just set off what would be the riots. Because again, it's just like y'all, there's no regard for any human life. And again, somebody being killed over allegedly stealing orange juice. They didn't steal the orange juice, and even if they did, that was worth dying over. Like, man, like again, y'all got insurance on that. And again, when I think back to even what happens with the hair supply stuff, because again, these were both the woman that killed the girl in LA and the guy that killed this kid in South Carolina are both of Asian descent. What I always just think back to is again that conversation of the hair beauty supply store and how pretty much all the distributors are now, they're Asian owned companies. The magazines and catalogs that you order from are written in Korean or Vietnamese or whatever language, where people that, a lot of black people cannot even order from these places, and a lot of, distributors and stuff and wholesalers will not even sell to black folks. And so I'm like, to me, that's almost the same equivalent as far as stealing somebody's livelihood, where people open stores, because we see a lot of black owned beauty supply stores open but then close because they just can't get enough product in the store. There's too many people who gatekeep that entire industry specifically to keep black people out so that they can keep it within their own collective and build their wealth. I understand the idea of building their wealth, but again, it's like you hijacked an industry that we already had owned and operated, and that's our fault for being very hospitable and open and trying to help people, because I will say, black people, in my opinion, we are one of the most hospitable demographics. People paint us to be the worst of the worst, but I think because we've always been on the receiving end of so much nonsense, we know what it's like to be on that side. So we always have a place in our heart for everybody else's struggle. And sadly, a lot of times it comes back to bite us in the behind in the end. You know what I mean? Because when people do the whole black and brown coalition thing, at the end of the day, anti-blackness is still in those coalitions and those umbrellas as well. It comes out so fast, all right? Even when people, even if it's not a black and brown thing, even when you talk about the idea of politics and I guess conservative versus liberal, even with white liberals, that racism will come right out when it's time, real quick, right? And so it's just, man, so I see that same way. So in the same way, like you shoot and kill somebody over orange juice or a bottle of water, I'm not trying to put that out there, but like, to me, if you consider that stealing, what is it when, black people can't even order from the distributor to keep their businesses open because you're keeping things locked away from them? To me, that's the same kind of stealing as well. So is it the same outcome? I would hope not, but like, that's the way I'm looking at it. Like, so terrible. Kayla said they wish they could find a way to charge for air. They'll probably find a way. I'm not y'all quoting "Don't Be a Menace" in here. Okay, let's see. All right. Okay, my chat is hanging on tonight. This thing be freezing sometimes. I still ain't got the new MacBook yet. Give me time. All right. Let's see. Shaw Jim Dropper said we black people need to start shopping at black owned businesses. I've always agreed with that, but I think the challenge I feel for a lot of black business owners is because of all of the policy and the covenants and the ordinances and all the laws that were put into place between about 1910 to about 1970, maybe the mid 1970s. There were so many laws. Actually, I'm going to backtrack. I jumped to the gun too soon. That's just the policy. And then when you also incorporate just what was happening in the United States before about 1890, right? Or before about 1910 in regards to black folks in the sharecropping and getting back to before 1865 and slavery and all that. A lot of black businesses never got the opportunity to transition into industry. They've always been stuck in that mom pop lane because at this point they have to compete against industry already, because all these big corporations that are now industry, they got a head start when black people weren't allowed to get the loans, when black people weren't allowed to open businesses in certain locations because of zoning laws that were put into place, or when black people did have these establishments and then neighborhoods were burned down from the riots, and I'm not talking about riots, but I'm talking about the race wars where they would go and massacre black folks and burn down everything they had, or the conversations of eminent domain, like all these different things. Every single time it kept kind of just like chipping away at the prospect of what could have been with a lot of these black companies that wanted to be these massive corporations and stuff. So you talk about the foundation for a lot of these big billion-dollar companies. A lot of these companies started in the 1800s, some in the early 1900s, some as early as the late 1780s, 1790s. So think about black folks in the 1780s and 1790s. We couldn't open any businesses. We couldn't do any of that stuff at that time. And so there's corporations that had a whole 100, 200-year head start. And with that, the generational wealth that was accumulated, it spreads and it spreads and it compounds. And before you know it, now you can go and buy up your competitors and buy more and buy more. And you just become a bigger business, and you transition from, the idea of industry into a corporation or a big corporate business, or you have this big giant business model. And before you know it, you have these big giant whatevers. And then even for the companies that may not have necessarily started like that, think about the people who had seed money to start with, right? Their parents had money. right? Think about like I just saw something that was talking about how the Homestead Act still dang, where is that at? That was a good little nugget I saw. I think it was saying 42 million white Americans today still benefit from the Homestead Act. That's the act where, you know, pretty much they were just giving out land after they snatched up all this land from the Native Americans and took it all and trail tiers and all that other stuff like that. And, you know, they're just giving out land. So, you know, white folks are getting land plus the blood quantum laws where white folks can pay somebody off and say, oh, I'm Native American too. And now I have protections from, you know, the federal government and I'm also privy to additional benefits. Like all of this stuff is so generational. Like everything ties together. That's why when people be trying to come on here and come at me talking about, oh, you got to get over it, move on. You got every excuse for black people. And I'm like, and I got every policy for black people as well to respond to that. So like, don't play with me because, yo, sometimes people are lucky I don't really argue with people in my comment section. If people disagree or don't like what I say, I just usually keep it moving. Usually if I respond, it's usually, if somebody's arguing with me or doesn't agree, it's usually maybe a subscriber that, you know, I respect or they like me or whatever. And they're like, you know, Calvin, I love you, but I don't like this part. Can you clarify? And then sometimes I'll go back. But like them ones that just be coming off Joe Street on here trying to regulate and speak from an authoritative disposition, and they don't even have the reins to have any of this conversation and want to talk to me about blackness and black anything, knowing the only thing they know about black folks is Jackson's, Oprah, and Martin Luther King. Get out of my face. Anyway, and now they're on the woke crusades. So please. Anyway. Um Oh, that was trifling, Charlene McKinney. I saw that. George Lopez's wife donated her kidney to him, and he divorced her later on. Didn't what's the comedian? He did that too, didn't he? God, what is his name? Y'all know who I'm talking about. Tracy Morgan. Didn't Tracy Morgan do the same thing? Like the girl gave him a kidney and then he left her. If I give you my kidney, we together forever. Like if you leave me, we going to that doctor's office and I'm getting my kidney back. You're going. I don't know how y'all gonna do it, but he got 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and lay in his bed. Let me know when y'all gonna numb me. Give me my kidney back. Like, no. No, I'm just kidding. Um, let's see. Billy Flood, exactly. They got insurance. Like, that's why when they do all this, it's interesting to see how people move. I'm like, it's not this deep, like at all. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, um, what was that? I was about to just use something as an example. Um, it'll come back to me later. But yeah, like, man. And I just find it so funny that people are so terrified of black people, right? I'm just like, do y'all look at the crime statistics around here? People like to try to say it's us. I'm like, every time I watch the ID channel, you know who was on there all night, all day. Every time I watch about corruption in our politics, it's you know who doing you know what. Every time we see a story about January 6th, it's you know who and what they did. Every time we see the majority of these mass shootings, we know who it is, you know who and what they did and who they did it to at any expense. So I'm like, I don't know why all of a sudden we got to be the boogeyman. We be minding our business, to be honest, right? Like, the nerve. Oh, Cat said not beef jerky. Oh yeah, my brother tried it that time. That crap was it was so embarrassing, but so funny. That was I probably told this before, but I'll tell it again. Um, yeah, I was at Howard at the time. I was in my junior or senior year of college. No, it was no, it was his birthday. So I was in junior or senior year of college, and I was a resident assistant and I was working the mailroom. Like the dorm we were in, we had about 800 residents. So if you were a resident assistant, you had to do the mail when you worked the desk. So it was like me, my friend Whitney was down there. Oh, this lady, Miss Fennell, who just died, God rest her soul. Like Miss Fennell was down there, and like a few other folks and everything. And so I had my phone on speaker because like this number kept calling that I didn't recognize, some 800 number. So I kept ignoring it, like, you know, somebody trying to sell me something. Leave me alone. It's one of them robots. And so they kept calling. And then they left a voicemail after about the third or fourth time. And it's like, hi, I'm so and so on behalf of Walmart. We have here a Marcus. I'm like, what? So I call, but I have the phone on speaker because I'm still doing the mail. So I'm, you know, I got like the phone just sitting on like the little box thing next to me, and I'm sorting, okay, 822, this goes to 8. And so I'm talking to the guy, and he's like, yeah, we had him. He was shoplifting, he and a group of friends, all the friends got away, but he got stopped. And yeah, so the police are on the way now. And mind you, it was his birthday. My mom had just gave him like a whole bunch of money. And so I'm confused. I'm like, okay, because I'm like, the police are on the way. Well, what all did he take? I'm thinking he done stole, some video games because Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was out at that point. I thought maybe he stole that and some DVDs and Fast and Furious DVD or something. And when that guy was like, "Oh, a bag of beef jerky, sir," what? And I just I just remember my friend Whitney, what? Like Whitney jumped into the conversation, what? And then everybody else in in the office, everybody is dying because they're like, what? And I was like, and what else? They're like, just a bag of beef jerky. And I was like, so y'all called the police for that? And I was like, okay. And what my brother had did was me and my father have the same name. And so my brother, I guess he should have gave me the heads up to be on code. I guess I was supposed to pretend to be the parent, but I'm like, that doesn't work if I'm 3,000 miles away because the police are coming to get you and you're detained. I can't fly over there to get you. And then he also figured, because at the time my concentration was legal communication for my degree. So I guess he thought I was going to be a lawyer and I could, do some litigation and get him out of his situation. I was like, I don't know what y'all think I'm supposed to do. I was like, man. So I had to get my parents like, hey, mom, dad, like, hey, some stuff going on. I had to give the people the contact information of where my parents were because I was trying to get my parents there before the police could get there. Fortunately, everything worked out. He's fine, but that is one of those stories where it's like, boy, you have lived. My brother should have a podcast. Okay, those are the stories. Those are the ones. That's a good laugh. You think my little rinky-dink stories are funny? The stuff he done did, we'd be here all day. One of these days, maybe if he's ever in town, because he doesn't live here, I'll do a live and let him sit right here and just talk to y'all. Anyway. Stellar said, "That's what we get not handing out no more cookout invites." I told y'all the cookout's been on pause since like 2018. Well, ain't nothing to celebrate right now. I do think you need a balance to enjoy, but y'all done invited everybody to this imaginary cookout. Ain't even gonna be no food for us because everybody else is up in there. Right? We're gonna get there and they're gonna have a guest list talking about you ain't on it. What up, FF8os now? All right. Scared or Sacred Place said corporations can steal millions, but poor people will get 30 years to life for stealing something worth $1. Like it's off, especially let it be some kind of mandatory minimum place where they got the three strike system, right? Okay, let's keep going because we still got a few more things to cover. I want to make sure I get everything. As far as Jamie Foxx, I have not really gotten a chance to talk about Jamie Foxx, but I do hope that things work out. There's rumors about what has happened. I'm not putting anything out there until stuff is confirmed. But if those rumors are true, I hope things really do work out, which is why I always say, like, it's interesting how life can really just do a 180. Like one day all is well, the next day you don't know what comes down the pipeline. So, this is why I'm really into like family and going and visiting relatives all the time and trying to call people every week. I'm really big on that because I don't have I have a large family. I just don't know most of them. But I'm really into like the idea of like family and keeping folks together and checking in on folks and stuff. But I hope things do work out for him. What's crazy is, and I think I said this when I did Tariq's podcast, where what's interesting when it comes to celebrities and public figures who have any kind of illness or something and people don't know what's happening, it's interesting to see how many people jump on so many different trains about whatever conversation is out. And then like, this is not to make a dig at other content creators, but they put content out about news that has yet to be confirmed. You know what I mean? Like it's interesting. And I think this is why a lot of celebrities don't like to share their personal business, right? Because it's so easy to put stuff out there and then it becomes the norm where people assume. Because we've heard every story. Like remember the way that they were talking, Jamie Foxx was supposed to die a few weeks ago. The way that they were going, like, oh, everybody hold on, it's looking grim. The family's been told to make arrangements. Like the story keeps changing, and there hasn't really been any official statements released yet. So I hope things do work out. But yeah, that's life happens, man. Things just go down all the time. You just never expect it. That's why I really be trying. That's why I be always trying to just do everything that I said I want to do in life. So I can't be in regret mode if I don't know, I get called to go on to glory early or anything like that. But man, it really, really sad. So hopefully things work out with whatever he is going through. I'm gonna keep going. Oh, these prompts. And if y'all don't stop trolling these kids with their proms, okay, listen. I will say this about Gen Z and their proms. I don't even know if they're technically Gen Z. They might be the generation after. Listen, them kids are doing it with their proms. They got no smoke for me. It's to the point where these kids do it up so big for their prom that I think every millennial has hidden their prom pictures. Like, you will never see my prom picture. I think I said this on the last live. Y'all will never see it, okay? Because the way that these kids are so styled and everything now, I'm in my ivory Steve Harvey looking suit with black shoes. You ain't got to worry about seeing me at these. Nope. But I like seeing the kids do the send-offs and everything. It's kind of cool. You see like the whole neighborhood come out and they got the music and some people have themes and everything. It is a bit much, but listen, prom is that last hurrah for high schoolers to kind of have that camaraderie with that peer group of friends, because after graduation, everybody branches out and goes to wherever and time happens and things. So let the kids have what they have. You know what I mean? I do want to talk about Chika. I hope I'm saying her name right. Chika. I don't normally like to fry up people, so I'm gonna move with grace on this one. But all right, so if you know, she is an entertainer. I want to say she's a rapper, right? Makes some pretty decent music. She had made a post where she had gone on a plane, and people in the section with her had the two twin toddler babies, right? So she makes this tweet about her experience. I'm just going to read the tweets and then we're going to talk. Because at first I was trying to figure out what did she say that was so horrible that everybody was lighting her up, because I didn't see everything yet. I was new on my weekend, right? So let me read what she wrote and then we're going to go from there. Well, actually, let me show this how I saw it. I saw the response from I want to say this was the mother of the kids, right? This is Zonique, right? I think Zonique is what, T.I.'s daughter or something like that. Somebody. It was, "You stupid B word." That was actually, let me not do this. That's backwards. I'm gonna read the quotes first. Okay, so she said, this is Chika. "The lady next to me who thought it would be a good idea to buy yourself and your twin infants first class seats on a red-eye flight, who just woke me up by bringing your screaming bastard to our seats to soothe her. I just bought $34 Wi-Fi. See, you should have flew Alaska Airlines. It would have been $8. At 4 a.m. to call you a stupid B word. P.S. I hate you and hope you get a paper cut between each finger tomorrow, you senseless wench. Like, are you literally mentally delayed? What makes you think a 1-year-old will shut the F up on a 7-hour flight that takes off at 1 effing a.m.? You already had them up past their bedtime. I don't care the circumstance. Take your A to economy at least." You would have still heard the babies crying in economy, so that makes no sense, right? So then that's when the mom responded, right? "You stupid A B word. That was me you were sitting next to. So let me enlighten you, you dumb hoe." Like, God, they weren't twin 1-year-old. That was my 4-year-old child. And the other one, the other crying baby you're referring to was my niece, Zonique. All right. Their baby. Okay, I'm getting all these names mixed up. So I'm sorry. And she's 2 years old. You're upset because she woke up for 3 minutes crying out of her sleep like most effing children. And I did immediately calm her by holding her and talking to her because it was dark as hell. I can't believe you are that insensitive when she woke up once on a 5-hour flight from LA. And second off, it wasn't your seat from beginning. You switched with someone else and set your fat A next to me and let me express the funk that you brought on top of that. Crazy-ish. Was it you in my ear saying all those? Oh, crazy-ish. Was it? Oh my God, I cannot read for my life today. Crazy-ish was you in my ear saying those girls are so good before she woke up out of her sleep scared crying because if it was pitch black and her TV had gone off, she was startled. I swear this is not me. It's how this is written. Was startled. I appreciate all the things you wish for me, and I can't wait to see your A again in person. B word. You just mad a woman when 2 children can afford first class next to a peasant such as yourself. You fake A, B in person. My God. Sheesh. Okay. So I'm going to say this. As far as Chika, now she did respond. She kind of said that she had been having a manic episode or something, and that's why she made that post. I think, first of all, for anybody who travels with toddlers, like, it's already challenging enough to travel with toddlers. I give grace to people who have them hollering babies on the plane. I get it. Like, because my thing is this. Are people supposed to just stay home because they have toddlers and never go anywhere, or because they have infants or kids under 3 or 4 and never go anywhere? You know what I mean? I get it if it's like you bring a crying baby to the movie theater. That's worth an argument, right? That's worth, like, really, you gonna take the baby in here to come see Set It Off? Really? Like that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm gonna have an attitude about. But again, being on a plane, and even then, if mom can't afford a babysitter, but she want to see the movie and she thinks the baby's gonna sleep through the movie because they normally sleep all the time, so be it. God speed. But you know, traveling, right? People have to get to where they go. And again, babies and toddlers are going to baby and toddler. That's why I don't know why people get annoyed at babies doing baby things and toddlers doing toddler things. It is what it is, right? I remember like my brother was sick when he was born. So he was like sick for like his first 6 months of life. So he was always hollering and wailing and screaming and crying and projectile vomiting and always going to the bathroom. And so I remember when we flew to LA to visit. Actually, that was the very first time we were going to see my grandpa. I didn't meet my grandpa till I was about 8. Um, he hollered on this whole flight from Seattle to LA. I was like, oh my God. But it was like things happen. And I think for parents are already uncomfortable. They know that their child is loud. They know that everybody hears the baby. You know, they know, and I get it. Everybody was laughing at the one clip from a few weeks back where the dude was cussing out the parents about their hollering child and stuff. I get it. It can be annoying. It is what it is. Listen, I go and play with my headphones and keep it moving. But I think Chika, like, it's fine to be annoyed, but then you're calling the kids bastards and stuff. The kids didn't do nothing wrong. They're being kids. Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's some real faulty stuff. And I think because, again, she's always asked for grace in regards to how people treat her with her mental health. So it's like, for me, I don't think it's fair to use that as a crutch to be a terrible person. There's a lot of people who have all kind of, things that they deal with, and they're well aware of their conditions, but they don't use that as agency to just go and, the idea of bragging about purchasing $34 Wi-Fi to make a post about how irritated you are because, a baby cried for a few minutes and now the baby has to be a bastard and everything else and whatever else. Like, okay, y'all are moving real weird around here. People got everything to say until it's them in that same predicament. That's how it is. It's kind of like even working with kids sometimes. I definitely had a lot of kids that had conditions that sometimes we didn't know about or were diagnosed, but the parents didn't share. And we had certain kids where we knew if we went in public, they were going to show their behind. And so you just had to be ready, right? You got the one kid that's a runner. He's be ready to go. So you just got to be ready, right? Have that on. Yeah, get back over here. Where you going? So it's like, people still have a right to live their life. People aren't supposed to just turn into hermit crabs and stay in the house because they have a baby. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's a very stupid approach. And for you to post that on social media, right? I just think, and then you, again, like, because you're a public figure, you have a following, your stuff is going to have more traction. And it's very likely that stuff will get back to whoever at some point, sometime. It happens all the time. One of these times, I remember years ago when this channel was a lot smaller, I did a video about the girl who shot her dad with the bow and arrow. And then the girl found the video. And I was like, oh, hey, what's up? But I still stand by what I said. But no, I just think that was a really foolish move. And it's like you burn bridges because now you're gonna have that reputation. Like, I get it. People, and I think it was a red-eye flight, which I think maybe the parent did that on purpose because that might have been a time where the kids most likely would sleep. Listen, babies are gonna cry on the plane. It is what it is. You're gonna have a neighbor that has a dog that barks too much. It is what it is. So you got to learn to just kind of live in that space without just moving the way you did. And so it was interesting because then, she got lit up. I think one of the responses were like, because they talked about the whole thing about her smelling whatever. And they went to a conversation about how like Black women are pushed into, and I was kind of like, you know what, I hear that, but we're not going to use that in this moment. That's not going to be the argument you get to latch onto because at the end of the day, you started this whole thing, right? Had you not made this post, they would have never talked about allegedly how you smelled, right? And she probably didn't smell. I don't know. It might have just been a good clapback. But it's like, if you're gonna dish all that out, I don't think you get to all of a sudden pull the sympathy card when people clap back and give you back exactly what you put out. What you put into the universe always comes back. So I don't know. Do better. And I wish her well on her mental health journey. But yeah, the idea of purposely paying $30 just to cuss somebody out, like it wasn't that deep. Like, right? Man, it's already, I just know for people who have toddlers, it's already uncomfortable sometimes when babies do that, like, or start crying. It is what it is, but that's what they do. They're telling you something is wrong, and you as a parent have to figure out what it is, and then again, a lot of times their ears pop, or if they got the ear infection and everything, or if they're still colic at the time, things happen. So people, no, that was all in poor taste. I'm sorry. That was all wrong. That was a horrible way to move. All right. All right. Let's see. Seeing the Sunset said, but we're to blame too. Calvin's point about being hospitable to a fault. Black women spend 10 times what white women spend on their hair care. But I will say to that point as well, though, is because black hair is policed at much higher rates than white hair. I think that's one of the reasons why hair has always really been, something that black people are really into. Especially think about like even the workplace. For the longest, one, natural hair wasn't allowed in a lot of offices. A lot of women had to keep their hair in like a tight bun. If you're like natural and maybe you are of a certain length, the idea of a bun doesn't always work sometimes. Think about like even those pageants and stuff when they would do like the Miss America and all that stuff. The women had to look a certain way. Even the HBCUs, and a lot of them had for the men all kind of rules back in the day. No locks, no braids, no, all kind of different things. Low cut hair. Our hair has always been policed. So there's always been an effort to put extra maintenance into how we presented ourselves through our hair, I think. And so I think there's two sides to that argument. Yeah, I think we're just also a group of people that really are into how we look. We like to present ourselves to look anyway. So, or not look anyway, but like look a certain way, right? And then other people get praised for looking just any old way. Some folks don't even wash their legs and brag about it on social media. But anyway, um, Juneteenth is coming. My mom will be in town, so me and her will have to find something to do. Keep in mind, Avocado Queen said, keep in mind that Afro textured hair is harder to manage, requires more products, time, and love. You know how much, like, this is dry, right? This is like the end of the day. You know how many juices and berries I gotta put in this crap? Like, man, I'd be tired. I'm telling y'all, some days I want to go back to wavelength so bad. I miss the days of just waking up and brushing it and running out the door, right? I'd be like, man, but I feel like my hair has almost become a brand at this point. So, you know, all right. Let's see. I'm gonna keep going. All right. There we go. I'm gonna read a few more things, and then we're gonna keep. Actually, no, I didn't even read none of my Chika comments. What were we saying about Chica on here? Let's see. Okay, that's about Jamie Foxx. His daughter keeps saying he's fine, but he hasn't made a statement yet. Kira said Jamie's team should dispel the rumors so people won't speculate. Sinbad's family has been very transparent. I just think some people don't like to share everything. And I think for Jamie too, in the event that he does have something serious, and at this point it must be because we haven't seen him, it also affects his work, right? It also affects whether or not he's insurable for other movies and other projects and whether studios will work with him. Like all of that plays a role. So I think that's one of the reasons why Chadwick Boseman, none of us knew what was happening. Had they known he had, you know, colon cancer, he might not have been able to get the Ma Rainey's Black Bottom role or the Black Panther. Who knows? They might have said no, we're gonna go with somebody else. So I think there's layers to it all, right? Shah Dropper said, I find it an odd time for Jamie Foxx to be donating a basketball court in his hometown of Terrell, Texas. What do you think? I didn't even know he was doing that. I don't really have anything to think on it. I don't think there's like a conspiracy or anything where it was like he was trying to do something great and they're trying to take him out. I don't think it's anything like that. I just think life happens for some people. Um, who knows though? She said, I mentioned that with the projected spend, and this is Seen the Sunset. I mentioned that with the projected spending black women are anticipated to spend on hair compared to white women. I I don't think I have the range for this conversation, but um, where do I want to go with this? We're gonna come back to this. I think this can go into a deeper. I'm gonna, I feel like people keep saying I need to collab more with other YouTubers. I'm gonna reach out to what's her name? Nappy headed Jehovah. I'm gonna reach out to her and see like if she's done on that's the name of her channel. Okay, that's not me being that's the name of her channel, Nappy headed Jehovah. Jehovah. She talks about all kind of things. I think maybe she's a bit more privy to have this conversation. She might, or even Lectual Media, I think actually has a video specifically on this. So let me go see what they got going, and I'm gonna send y'all to them because at this point I'm walking in uncharted territory almost. All right. Let's see. And the other reason I kind of said what I said about Chica because that's not the first time she's went after somebody's kids. Like I definitely remember the post. I don't remember who she was beefing with, what happened, but she posted somebody's kid and made the cut. So with that, I'm like, y'all be moving funny. So you want to move funny, don't get mad when people start making you the joke. Like, man. Hey, Bibby said, I want to do prom over. Dang it. Who'll support my GoFundMe? Let me tell you about my prom, right? I went to 3 proms, right? One girl asked me to come with her to hers, so I went to her. She went to Tacoma School of the Arts, which was like the performing arts school, but at the time it was like all the gothic kids, they wear like the black lipstick and the rockers, yeah, so yeah. And so it was funny because they didn't play anything you could dance to. It was just all heavy metal and grunge and rock and alternative. And I remember going to the DJ like, hey, y'all think y'all can just play like one song people can dance to? Because mind you, we might have been 5 of 10 black people at this prom, right? And it was an unconventional prom. It was only like 100 people there. They didn't have a DJ. It was this girl that just had her iPod. No, she had, remember Zunes? She had her Zune hooked to the sound system. She was just doing her playlist. I was like, you got anything maybe we can dance to? She said, rap, rap. We have rap. I'm like, I didn't say rap. I just said something we could dance to. So she played Kanye Diamonds Are Forever. I'm like, now what am I supposed to do to this? So that was one prom. And then another friend asked me to go to her prom. She went to Bethel High School. Her prom was kind of fun, but Bethel High School is like a really white school, so they were playing like Elvis and stuff at their prom, right? And so, but that was a cool prom. I think that was the best prom picture I took. I looked kind of good in that one, and then she looked really good. Like we looked real good together in that one. And then my actual prom, man, I only got to enjoy about 30 minutes of it because my prom date, she didn't do her hair until the morning of. She had like this really complicated braided something she was doing, right? It was braided. It looked nice when it was done, but she started it in the morning and we were supposed to go because I was student body president. So anybody who was like an elected officer at the school, we were supposed to go to the venue like early that afternoon at like 2 o'clock because they gave us first dibs on getting our pictures early. That way you can just enjoy the prom and not have to do anything. So we were supposed to all go get our pictures. She wasn't able to make it to that because, of course, her hair wasn't done or not finished yet. So I did take like 1 or 2 extra pictures with just somebody else just to make sure I would get a picture. And then we were all supposed to go grab food. Couldn't grab food because still wasn't done with the hair. I'm like, how much braiding y'all doing over there? Like at this point, put one half in the ponytail. Let's go. And I think when I went to pick her up. Prom I think ran from 8 to 11. We didn't leave the house till about 9:51ish. And mind you, we were in Spanaway. We needed to get to downtown Tacoma. That's about 15-20 minute drive. We get there. I remember she had bought these shoes. She couldn't walk in like the shoes. She got like these heels to match her dress. She looked nice, but like I guess the heels must have hurt to walk in. And Seattle and Tacoma and Washington State in general is just all hills. It's just all hills. And the prom was at I want to say it was at the train station or it was at the museum. I can't remember, but I parked and we had to go down this hill. She needed me to carry her down the hill. And then by the time I got to the prom, we had about 35 minutes left to prom. I was like, man, and prom was cranking like that. That my prom had the right music. That was lit. And I'm like, damn, we only had like 35 minutes for prom. And then she and I still had to take our picture. So by the time she and I got our picture, like I got to enjoy about 15 minutes of prom. I was like, damn, man. But it's funny to look back on and laugh at. But it is what it is. But no, I enjoy watching these kids have these big elaborate moments for their prom. Good for them. Now listen, I'm telling you, FAFSA is gonna be real shady. Y'all if you're gonna do these, keep it amongst yourself. FAFSA is gonna be real shady, and I bet you soon they're gonna start asking how much is your prom budget. They're gonna be determining how much they're gonna give you for college. But man, okay, thank you, Jeannie B1. Tiny is Onique's mother. Okay, thank you all for clearing that up. Y'all know who half these people are. Said Calvin, the way you're reading this, I was trying to read it as they wrote it. I'd be messing up the grammar and the context. My bad. All right. All right. Nathan Moore hit it on the nail. Ladies and gentlemen, this is why you don't share your thoughts about everything. I've learned to do that too. Sometimes I just won't say nothing, especially like Twitter, because I have a lot of tweets where I be writing stuff. I'm like, you know what? That's not going to end well. Let me just I wrote it, but let me not send it. Let me delete it because that's gonna have the FBI coming to my house. So let me just not post that. But yeah, sometimes it's like just everything you ain't got to share. You know what I mean? I just know as a parent with hollering kids, you already annoyed. You're like, I remember my cousin Michaela, God rest her soul. That was the cousin I used to talk about in the podcast. she had Prader-Willi syndrome, which was a condition where her body didn't really have a metabolism, so everything she ate stayed on her, and she was always hungry. She would never be full because there was a disconnect, something with one of her chromosomes. I think number 21, I can't remember, but her body could never tell her that she was full, so she would always be hungry. And I remember when she was little, well, she wasn't little. Well, she was little, but as far as her physical size, she was not little. She was really big for her size. Um, I remember her being like 4 or 5. And if we went to Oglethorpe Mall in Savannah or Savannah Mall, we had to always come in on the other side. We could never come in by the food court because if she smelt the food, she would just have an episode. I mean, lay out on the floor, scream, kick. And because she was like 180 pounds or however big she was, it was she might not have been that big yet. It's hard to just you couldn't really pick her up either, right? Especially if a kid doesn't want to be picked up. They can stiff you up. So she used to just have these moments. And I remember the people would stare at us. Kids have never seen another child that large, so they're looking at her crazy and everything and looking at us. Eventually you kind of just get used to it. But again, it's already a feeling where all eyes are on you. People are aware of whatever's happening in that moment with their kids or if somebody's having a moment. So then to go on social media in front of however many hundreds of thousands of people follow you and then blast that person for doing the best they could. Because I saw the picture of the kids, like, they had the TVs and the headphones and the movies and the snacks and the blankets. They were in these nice little comfortable setups. I was like, y'all flying better than me. Like, so they were in a great setup. But again, a 5-hour flight from the East Coast to the West Coast, at some point a child is going to get restless, So yeah, that was all in poor taste. Do better next time. All right. Okay. Somebody said, I swear they're weaponizing mental health. I think some people tend to do that. And the other bit too, um, I even say that sometimes even when you have the conversations around like gun violence and stuff too, people sometimes will jump into the conversation of mental health or mental issues. And I'm like, a lot of times the biggest victims of gun violence are people that actually have mental conditions. They're not usually the aggressor, if you want to go there. But I had a teenager that had their moments sometimes, but they knew that they had their moments. So sometimes when they were in the wrong about something, and they'd be like, Mr. Michael, I got my anger management issues. And I'm like, the fact that you can acknowledge that you have it means that you're in a position where you can somewhat maneuver how you're going to respond in moments when you get triggered. So we're not going to use that as an excuse today because you're wrong. So let me tell you why, and we're going to work right past it. Like my kids knew, like I would tell you about yourself from a place of love, and most likely I probably feed you too. Like half the time, especially my teenagers, every time they got in like big trouble where the parents are ready to ship them off to wherever, I would always have to go and scoop up their kids and we go grab some food at some restaurant and just talk life. For some reason, I noticed when you feed people, they're more receptive to your advice. So anyway, all right. I agree with that as well as Marty. Like, okay, they said I just feel bad for the babies and their parents, but that was for the group chat, not for Twitter. There we go. Like, yes, talk amongst your collective about the beef that you have, as opposed to putting it out on Front Street. You know what I mean? Oh, beauty within carcass said even how other black people criticize natural hair. Yo, this one lady one time that used to be subscribed to this channel, she's in a different world, but I always laugh because she randomly used to just I don't know, she always used to comment that the world was ending. And I'm like, well, the world's been ending as long as we've been on it. But she would get mad if I didn't talk only like heavy stuff. And I think I remember I did we reviewed the Bobby Brown movie, right? And I had done that. So she just chewed me out one day out of nowhere. Like, all the stuff that's happening in the world. You want to talk about Bobby Brown? You can block me. You can do whatever. You know nothing. And then she was like, and do something about that hair. You look like one of the kids off the playground when I see you. I'm like, what did the hair do? Because of Bobby? Like, okay. All right. Like, folks be letting me have it in the comments. I just be laughing, like, okay, y'all be pissed off in these dissertations. All right. Um, Let's see. Where else are we at here? Yeah, folks be trying to chew me out on here. All right. Seeing the sunset said I didn't mean to start a hair argument. No, I don't think it's a hair argument. I just think everybody's having. Oh, maybe you're talking about the chat. Maybe they're all fighting. My hair is thick as can be, no chemicals. I want hair piece in these streets. Queens can respectfully agree to disagree. Okay, so that's y'all up there talking. Yeah, ain't no drama over here. Um, yeah, somebody said a collab with nappy headed Jehovah would be cool. Yeah, she's really cool. She's a really nice person. I rock with her. Um, Um, Let me see. Somebody said, "Can we talk about the BET Awards?" I don't even know what they got going. I haven't seen no commercials. I ain't seen no anything. Like, are they having it? I mean, I'll do a review if they have one because I don't think I've done one for maybe 2 years. But yeah, all right. I'm trying to get through these comments because I still got some more stuff to cover, and it's already midnight. Lord, let me move faster. Um, Don Smart, you are so lucky. She said I went to an all-black school, so prom was lit. Must have been nice. My prom was still fun though, and honestly, I listened to everything. So they would still play some of the other songs that weren't like R&B and hip hop or pop. I still have a good time. Um, y'all are having some great conversation in this chat today. Calvin, are you going to do another album? Yes. All right. What up, Raywin? Raywin's a very nice person, by the way. I don't have favorite subscribers. I like everybody, but Raywin is always good energy every time he reaches out. Really nice person. Um, SF said the podcast where you mentioned a little boy snatching a shrimp out your hand was hilarious. I can't wait to put out the next episode. Yeah, that little boy is now he's about to be a senior in high school. This upcoming school year. It's like time flies. It's crazy. All right, we got to keep going. Sharon 7124. Will you ever do a meet and greet? I'll do something. The next big project I have, I'm going to probably do something. At this point, I keep running into people that know me. I'm like, I might as well just do a meet and greet at this point. I guess I don't realize the size of the channel. I still, in my head, operate like I have a small channel with like 500 subscribers. I'm like, I never had any goals for this channel. I just kind of made it. And then at one point, I think the first goal was like, oh, I just want like 500 subscribers. I'll be good. And then I got it. And then I was just kind of chilling. So as it's gotten to where it's at, and honestly, this year has been on my end, a very lackluster year. I haven't really put out a lot of the content I want to put out. I've been doing a lot of lives. If y'all haven't noticed, just because of my schedule, I don't have a lot of time right now to make a lot of pre-made videos. So I'm trying to readjust my life so I can really make those videos for y'all. I love doing the lives, but I really like the pre-made videos because then my research is like top tier and we got the visuals and the graphics to support whatever I'm talking about. So I'm trying to like make the second half of this year a bit more eventful on this channel. Okay, I gotta keep it moving. Let's see. What else have I not covered? I just want to make sure I get everything before we start chopping it up around these parts. Let me go to my thing and just make sure I'm covering every topic I've named here. Because I know there's some stuff I haven't covered yet. If I do a meet and greet, it'd be in person. It probably won't be on Zoom because we've already done a few Zoom parties. I'd just do a Zoom party, honestly. Let me see here. Okay, I'm going to hold on. I'm just trying to make sure I'm covered everything. All right, because there's a few more things we need to talk about on here. Okay, we talked about Cyrus, Chika, Jamie Foxx. Okay, so we covered all the big things in the title. Okay, good. Let me get to the other stuff. All right, so in addition to that, which I thought this was kind of weird to me. So this story about the kid Cameron Robbins, I do feel bad, but at the same time, like no judgment, but why? This was the kid that there's a video that went viral where he jumped off the cruise ship into the water and then they never found him. And there were like speculations that maybe he had been eaten by a shark or maybe he drowned. But all I'll say is sometimes understand, and I get it when you're like 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, maybe even 21, there's this period of invincibility where you think you can just do any and everything. I understand if you're in the waters at night and you can't see what's in the water, you don't know what kind of riptides are there, what the currents are like, what's in the water. Just be careful with the things that y'all do. It kind of sucked because he was just having fun. He figured he would just jump and splash it and climb back out, but now he's missing. So I think people have to, yeah, you gotta have to just. I get it. This kid I went to school with in high school, I won't say his name, but he drowned the week we all graduated. And it wasn't even on anything on purpose. It was weird. He was at Spanaway Lake, which was like the lake that we all live by. They were just in the water. I can't remember if the boat flipped and he fell out and was trying to get back in and just never was able to get back in. I don't remember exactly how he technically drowned, but he drowned, right? And he could swim, which was crazy. And it was so sad because it was right at the end of the school year. So it's just like things happen sometimes. So you kind of have to just be careful. I have not had a chance to see The Little Mermaid yet. I definitely plan to support it, especially because I've made 2 videos cussing out people who were doing the most about it. I'll definitely go and support it. To the random person that made that whole post about The Little Mermaid leaving out the presence of slavery and they're in the Caribbean. In the same way that I can tell white folks to relax about a black person playing a mermaid because it's all a Disney movie, we don't have to put the slavery narrative in the kids' movie. You know, it's the Little It's a movie about a mermaid that sings, so it's not reality. It's not real life. We can have the conversations about slavery because we do them all the time. But for the sake of this movie, if it wasn't in the last one, right? Like I that argument, I was like, okay, this is a stretch at this point, right? So in the same way that white kids all across the world get to be catered to and have these whimsical experiences where they can use their imagination and just live in these happy imaginary worlds, black children should be able to do that as well without having to be reminded about all of the traumas that we've dealt with globally, especially in a Disney movie. I think that was a stretch, a heavy stretch. Yes, slavery was in the Caribbean. It was all up and through up in there. That's why even when they talk about the Atlantic slave trade, remember, like only 432,000 came to the United States. Everybody else went to the Caribbean, Central America, and South America. So slavery is all up and through that side of the world. But this is a Disney movie, right? And if we're going to do that, then that means you needed to put slavery in all the other movies. The slavery should have been in The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It should have been up in Pocahontas. Pocahontas already took it there, but they could have went a little further if that's the route we want to go. So for the ones that like to do the performative stuff to just kind of stir up conversations and make people bring the ignorance out of people who already want to shut down the actual conversations about slavery and everything, because again, we're in this era where you got these stupid people that are where's that stupid DeSantis clip I saw? I'm gonna play that. I could, if y'all let that man be the Republican nominee. All right, here's your Florida governor. Let's see.
As president, I recognize that the woke mind virus represents a war on the truth, so we will wage a war on the woke. We will fight the woke in education. We will fight the woke in the corporations. We will fight the woke in the halls of Congress. We will never, ever surrender to the woke mob. We will make woke ideology, leave it to the dustbin of history. It's gone.
So yeah, that's the other end of the spectrum, right? Like, Lord, he don't want to be woke. I'm like, well, somebody put him to sleep then. But man, the stupidity that's out there, right? So you already got all that going on. So it's kind of like, Florida, please act like y'all got some sense down there. Actually, U.S. because at this point he's running for president. It's gonna be a mess. Actually, I'm looking at everybody on that side that's running. Like, I'm not looking forward to 2024. I'm not going in that direction tonight. I'm just not looking forward to it at all. Like, I had to take. I don't take any drugs or anything, but I might need a Xanax after that. Like, just thinking about it. As far as Danileigh, getting, what does she have, a hit and run, DUI and everything? Listen, people, y'all got to start moving with some. I don't know. That's, you just messed up right there. And then she hit somebody too with the car, right? And tried to keep going. So we'll see what happens with Danileigh on that. I'm like, man, much support to those in the writer's strike. I tried to get out there to it, but by the time I got out, because I think the writer's strike in LA, they do like a real schedule, like Monday through Friday, but it stops at 5. By the time I got to that side, they had just wrapped up for the day. As far as the one that was in, I don't know which portion, whichever side of Hollywood has the Capitol Records building, whichever part of town that is, there was a protest right there. But I by the time I got to it, they were already done for the day. But much support to them, and best wishes to SAG, because I know they're up next in regards to determining whether or not they want to strike. Really, a lot of this is about royalties and residuals, because again, greed is one hell of a drug, right? And so a lot of them are fighting because writers already get treated like ish in both the music industry and television and film. But a lot of them are fighting for, again, the conversation around royalties with a lot of the streaming services, because, a lot of them don't get pretty much the compensation that they should be getting, right? Especially with residuals and everything. That's why Monique, you saw her suing, in regards to the royalties she wasn't getting for the Parkers and everything like that. So this is not just one isolated thing. This is like a real conversation, plus the conversation of AI, where now they almost want to replace writers and just let the computers do it. I'm like, that's never going to be entertaining. People are trying to jump on this AI train. I don't like it, but I'm telling you, it's going to be a problem later down the line, especially amongst the arts, right? you can try to just manipulate and recreate, but if anything, everything's going to be mechanical. So sorry, K-pop fans. In the same way that I feel like K-pop can be very mechanical and orchestrated and just not really feel connected to anything, that's going to be a lot of our entertainment and our art if they start letting AI take over everything. All right, what else do I want to cover here? I'm gonna skip that, and I'm gonna skip that, and I'm gonna skip that. Oh, also, so I've read, so they're now making a Milli Vanilli documentary. Now, a few in the newses ago, maybe like 8 months ago, we talked about them doing the actual movie, right? And there was like they had the pictures of the actors, and I was saying how the one guy looked just like Rob. Rob is the one that's no longer living, sadly. But I like the idea of a documentary. I think like I'm really starting to lean towards the documentaries for people with the stories, but I would also still love to see a movie as well. They have a very interesting story. Again, a conversation about the greed of the industry and how people can be exploited and manipulated and get locked into contracts and have to do things they may not necessarily want to do. I'm down for both, so I will gladly watch, either or. Where else do I want to go with this? Oh, I saw this one as well. This one, I'm not going to read the full story, but again, Texas is set to ban diversity, equity, and inclusion efforts in public universities. Understand. So people were trying to light me up with my Ron DeSantis video about him pulling the black AP curriculum and everything, and folks was trying to fight, and all of a sudden say, well, the curriculum was going to talk about this, and they were going they had an LGBT part in there, and that's not Black history. I'm like, y'all are going to have to stop erasing Black people out of the conversation. No matter how you want to see the world, when we talk about the conversation of Blackness, Black people exist in all realms, whether they be straight or gay or how they identify, whatever. We're in all of those conversations, so you can't erase segments of our collective that you don't like or agree with because you want to paint yourself or paint the image of your collective to have one specific approach to maneuvering through society. But the point that I had made in that video was that was just going to be step one. They were going to start going after everything. And I talked about how, again, the policy that we're starting to see is starting to be so cemented. Like, remember how I keep saying, and I've been saying this since about 2018, these loony folks are cementing a lot of things. And so when you talk about the conversations around, DEIA or even affirmative action, the approach that people who are against it like to use is they try to say, oh, these are attacks on white people, and all of these very qualified white people are missing out because unqualified Black people and brown people and people that don't fit within the bubble of being white are getting into these positions. In reality, the purpose of all that is this. I always say you're looking at it backwards. If you only limit things to, let me rephrase. The reason we had to even get to that point is because, again, people were being left out, right? Prioritized, we're only going to be white folks, right? In all these positions, specifically white men, right? And so what ended up happening is all of these talented and qualified and just exemplary people that would fit in these positions and these roles and titles that were Black or Latino or whatever race or whatever they were, they were being excluded out automatically just because they weren't being considered, right? They weren't white. Their name didn't add up within the resume, so they knew it's not one of us, so it's an automatic no. So you had all these people get pushed out because they were Black, because they were not white, right? And what ended up happening is you ended up getting an oversaturation, to be honest, of mediocrity in a lot of these top tier positions because it was just a bunch of white men. Just because you're a white and a man or a white and a woman does not mean you're the most qualified person in the room for anything. So then we started getting all these different programs to diversify, not to pull people out of positions and put people in them that weren't great, but to give the people who actually have the skills, who have the talents, a fair shot at even being in the room, because a lot of these folks would not even get a freaking interview, would not even get a call back. And even if they got to the interview, they would troll and have them do 5-6 rounds of the interview just to still give the position to somebody else who wasn't even that great. And another thing that we've seen before is a lot of times, especially with a lot of people in the white collective, they love to move from a punitive standpoint. Remember how I always use the phrase punitive entitlement, where if they don't get their way, everybody else has to suffer? What are we living through right now, right? Everywhere you look, anything that is not white is under attack and falls into the woke bubble, right? So you got everything happening with them stripping all the affirmative action thing is still in the Supreme Court right now. That, they're about to go back into their session. We'll find out what happens with that in regards to college admissions. So you got them fighting with that. That's even like the Abby girl from 2008 who didn't get into her Texas college and figured it must have been some Black and Latino folks who took her seat when she didn't even have the credentials for the program. And the majority of the people who got in that were Black and brown in that program. had the credentials to get in, had better scores than her, but she still felt she was supposed to be there. That's that idea of just thinking you're the standard. And when you don't get what you see as the standard for your way of living and your way of life, here comes the punitive entitlement, and you want everybody else to suffer because you didn't get your way. White America is doing that right now, and they are willing to let this country go down if they don't get what it is that they want. And the funniest thing is they don't even really know what they want. They just mad at the world. They're mad that everybody else exists. So now they start to create these stupid culture wars. Look at the people in office. What is Marjorie Taylor Greene's actual policy? She has none. Her purpose is to just go and stir up shit, right? Her purpose is to just go and try to keep rattling the people that are pissed off at the world and get them energized, and because they want to go and take over the government. Same with Lauren Boebert, and same with a lot of these people. They don't have any actual policy. Ron DeSantis, that stupid clip I just played, you're running for president, and the thing you want to run on is you're going to end woke. Y'all can't even explain what it is. You already hijacked the phrase from black folks and twisted the meaning into something else, and now you want to run with that. That is not anything that's affecting. Like, my thing is this: I don't vote for people just because they have a D or an R in front of their name, right? I vote on what makes sense with the policy. In this space, I'm living in a space where it's too expensive out here, right? I'll probably never be able to afford a house in the next few years unless the interest rates go down, or unless I get a really, really good job, or I don't know, if I get married and now it's dual income. Right now, housing is too expensive for most people. Rent is too expensive for most people. Everybody's healthcare is ridiculously just through the roof. Food is too expensive. We're not really sure what's going on with China and Taiwan. We're not really sure what the heck is really going to be the end result with Ukraine. There's all these different things going on, and you're worried about woke, and you can't even explain what it is. Just the stupidity, right? So there's all these different things going on. So they're going and doing that. You see what they're doing in the schools, where they're stripping any and everything out of the curriculums. Now they're going to the college level. It's not even at public schools. Now it's colleges and universities. You saw what DeSantis did, where he pretty much took over. I can't remember the name of that college. I think it's Village College or Village something. Took over that entire university, put his own board of trustees in there. It's going to change that entire curriculum. Like, and this didn't start with DeSantis. Remember back in 2019, 2020, even with Trump, when he started trying to push out that policy where it was like any public institution that does not push and celebrate the founding fathers is at risk for losing funding. What do you think that was about? That was all a response to the 1619 project, and everybody having the conversations about reparations, and everybody having the conversations about redlining, and just everything that's happened in the past. And so everybody at this point, it is chaos. And so when people jump on this whole woke this, woke that, a lot of these people can't explain none of that. I just feel the stupidity and the fact that society just elects some of the dumbest people to be in charge. And then we got to be collateral to their nonsense, right? And on top of that, the dangers of when you put things under one umbrella and just brush it off is now when there's real things that actually matter, you can put it in the woke umbrella, the same way they did black people with the race card. So now even conversations about like climate change fall under the woke umbrella, right? Even conversations about health. I saw a conversation once, because you know they've been cutting like Head Start and stuff, which to me is very important. When you want a country to flourish, you have to invest in the people. You have to invest in education and infrastructure and opportunities. You have to invest in ensuring that those who are working class or those who have a hard time making it to the end of the month in regards to finances, making sure that they are somewhat okay. When society is okay, society can prosper. That's when the creativity kicks in. And when you have creativity plus the wealth to back it, plus the innovativeness, plus the collaboration and the diversity, because you have multiple people representing different realms and aspects and experiences, that's how you can flourish. But the move right now is cut all of that, and we're just going to punish everybody, and we're going to tell y'all what to do. This is why the United States sucks as a whole right now. This is why education continues to fall. This is why our infrastructure is nonsense. They couldn't even agree to vote on the second half of the Build Back Better bill, which is very interesting, because again, that would have created millions of jobs, right? They got the first half through, and that's why we've been seeing, this surplus with jobs. I just saw the jobs report, 300,000 plus jobs created last week again, or last month. Like, all that stuff is kicking in. No matter how much you dislike whoever's in office, some of these things are actually getting done. But the problem is, again, a lot of people in white America are they're willing to let it all burn down just to be white, or just to be right. I was about to say just to be white, same thing, right? And so people want to hold on to the status quo. They want to hold on to the old guard by any means necessary. And the fear of seeing an ever-changing society that gets younger, that may get more progressive, or just have their own viewpoints about how to do things. And they don't want to kiss the behind of whatever happened in the past. Like, living in DC is interesting. I was just walking to, I went to, one of my friends had a really nice party because they're having a son. But it was like you had to dress up real nice. So I was trying to find like a nice suit, right? And so I was walking like around Metro Center. Metro Center is right by Ford's Theater. That's the theater where Lincoln got shot at. And so I'm walking and the random white lady came in with the thing. Don't you want to see Ford's Theater? I'm like, no, not really. I don't care. Like, leave me alone. Who cares? Not to be rude, but okay. But it's interesting. She was like so offended that I didn't want to go to the theater to go see where Lincoln got shot at. I was like, I don't care. Like, I understand it happened, but that's not like the priority of how I move or what I really care about. And there's so many additional things happening in the world. And if anything, if there's a place I'm going to break my neck to go to, I'll go to the African American History Museum of Culture. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'll go to the other places, but who cares? Even like, I don't know. This might be a little mean, but I think I said this before. Like one time, my cousin Brandon was in town. We were by all the monuments and stuff. We're walking around. Here come these two Vietnam vets, these two older white men. They're like, take pictures of us. We're a part of history. And I'm like, that's great. My uncles were in Vietnam too. Fall back, right? Get out of here. Like, and World War II. All right. And somebody in the family was in World War One. The great grandfather I'm named after, Calvin, was in World War One. So like, you be a little piece of history. It's in my family too. But see, folks be thinking they are the standard of everything. We're supposed to be impressed by their experience that they had, just like everybody else. But getting to my point, everybody just it's chaotic. Just y'all just get your wake up call, folks. That's all I'm saying. And it even goes back to even this guy Paxton that they just got out, that they got rid of in Texas, the attorney general. I want to read this really quick, and then after this, I'm going to shut up on the main topics. We'll chat, and then I need to go to bed because it's already 12:16. Texas attorney general says Trump would have lost the state if it hadn't blocked mail-in ballot applications being sent out. All right. Now, this was from 2021. Remember how I talked about, because for those, I know some folks are like, I don't vote no more. F all that, it's all rigged, blah, 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 blah. I get that. But my point is this: voting is one piece of the pie. It ain't everything. It's supposed to be one piece and you keep it moving. But clearly, they have been doing everything in their power to ensure that folks don't vote for a reason. Because again, voting is one piece of the pie. When people get into these positions, now they're in the door. Once they're in the door, if there's enough people that have the same perspectives or have the same ideologies as them, they will get on board with whatever shenanigans they want to do. And what has happened since since Obama got in there, because again, all of this is in response to him being in office, to be honest, folks will make sure that will never happen again. As these people get into office, they start latching on to these very outlandish policies, and they're restructuring how our politics works. They're getting rid of election officials and getting rid of whole divisions and departments and everything like that. And they can do that because they have so many people who have now gotten into the door and have these little tiny bits and pieces of power where they can do what they can do. But you get enough of these little bits and pieces of power and put them together, you can lock into a system and get it to work how you want it to work. And so that's what we're seeing. But let me get back to the part. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, a Republican, said former President Donald Trump would have lost in Texas in the 2020 election if his office had not successfully blocked counties from mailing out applications for mail-in ballots to all registered voters. Harris County, home to the city of Houston, wanted to mail out applications for mail-in ballots to its approximately 2.4 million registered voters due to COVID-19's pandemic. However, the conservative Texas Supreme Court blocked the county from doing so after it faced litigation from Paxton's office. If we had lost Harris County, If we had lost Harris County, Trump won by 620,000 votes in Texas. Harris County mail-in ballots that they would have wanted to send out were 2.5 million. Those were all illegal, and we were able to stop every one of them. They weren't illegal. That's just they make it illegal when you look like this, right? Paxton told former Trump advisor Steve Bannon during the latter's War Room podcast on Friday, had we not done that, we would have been in the very same situation. We would have been on during election day. I was watching on election night, and I knew when I saw what was happening in these other states that would have been Texas. We would have been in the same boat. We would have been one of those battleground states that were counting votes in Harris County for 3 days, and Donald Trump would have lost the election, right? As far as Texas, the Republican officials said. Texas Attorney General Republican said Friday. Oh, that's the same piece of the article. But again, so that opens a bigger dialogue, right? Now, Trump still lost the 2020 election, but again, now it makes you question some of the past elections. Something I found so interesting was even looking at the numbers of Miami-Dade County in both the 2020 election and the 2016 election. I said, these numbers don't really add up. I know there's a huge Cuban population that's very Republican, but the voting patterns of 2016 and 2020 don't really match 2012 and 2008. Something's a little off about that. That was just me. I left it alone. But again, you have somebody acknowledging that, yeah, we pretty much rigged Texas, because at this point, Harris County is so massive. right? And mind you, Harris County has in total, there's 2.4 million people that are registered to vote, but there's about 5.4 million people in that region, right? So imagine if those people also, the ones who did not register to vote, imagine them also being in that vote and registering. Like, look at how the demographics would flip in such an area. So at this point, they're openly cheating in your face, right? And nothing is going to happen because at this point, there are so many people in cemented positions where now this is okay. This is why Carrie Lake, the lady that lost Arizona, that refuses to concede, is still running on this idea that she really won the election, and people will let her do it, right? Because there's so many people that now think that all of our politics are so rigged that they're only rigged against Republicans, when in reality, they've been rigged against Black folks. They've been rigged against marginalized groups of people for the longest, right? But people have bought into that. And so our elections will be chaotic for the next few years. And now you're seeing them get rid of, again, how to do the process. Texas also has that new law where they can go and redo an election, or pretty much, I'm not going to say undo, but if they don't agree with what they see and they think there's corruption, they can flush it all out and do it again. Like, these folks are doing all kind of crazy stuff. So that's why I'm always like, this ain't the time to tap out, because while you tapping out because you didn't get the one thing that you wanted, and again, politics is an ongoing thing. Nothing will ever be cemented in regards to what it is that you want, because somebody's always going to be fighting against it, especially as a Black person, because anything we want is going to be a problem, even the bare minimum, right? It's kind of like when people like to bring up celebrities and say, oh, well, Serena Williams is successful and LeBron James is successful, and I don't know, Drake and Beyonce are millions and billionaires. Why can't you do it? Again, we're in a space where for Black folks, I guess we have to either be one of the greatest athletes in the world or one of the biggest entertainers in the world just to get the bare minimum element of respect. And they still not going to give it to you, because look at how much they disrespect a Serena Williams or a Beyonce or a LeBron or all these different people, right? Stupid. Everybody get on my nerves. Y'all sure there's not like a secret Wakanda we don't know about that Black people can go to? If y'all know, somebody send that in my DM. Let me know when we can go. Like, man. Or listen, otherwise Mars needs to hurry up and open up so they can go, because I ain't leaving Earth. But all right. All right. Avocado Queen said it exactly right. Just replace the word woke with Black. Really, they just mean they don't want to say nigga next, to be honest. Reminds me of did y'all see the clip with the teacher that called the student the N-word? But it slipped out. Like, you know, he's like, what are you looking at you? And he says the word. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I was like, y'all see how it just comes out so smooth? Like, just flooded right on out. And then again, this is a teacher. So I'm like, okay, I wonder what you think of your students. You know what I mean? Because again, if you're going to be in a position where people's livelihood and their future depends on how you work with them, like, I would hope that you treat each student fairly. But if that's what you see your students as, then I can just imagine how they're treated. Like, even believe it or not, I had white kids in my center, and listen, they got treated exactly how I treated everybody the same. Everybody's gonna get a shot. I was gonna give everybody the same energy. I wasn't gonna nitpick and only, you know, work with the Black kids and leave the white kid on it. No, because kids are kids, and I feel like you can shift the generation with the youth, right? I feel like if you can get about 2 or 3 generations to move in a space where they understand each other's plight and recognize what has happened in the past and work to fix it, you can kind of fix a lot of the nonsense that we have. But the problem is you get so many that already get indoctrinated into the old guard, and the cycle repeats itself. And that's why still we're having a lot of these same conversations, and it feels like we're almost regressing backwards in regard to race. Now, I don't know how we got this deep at the end of the live. This should have been at the front. I didn't even mean to go this far, but so be it. All right. Baby Love 14 says, what does woke mean? Ask somebody white, because they don't even know. All I know is for us, collectively, for Black folks, woke was kind of like an in-house term, and it could have kind of been an insult, but a lot of times it was a compliment, right? It was kind of highlighting that, okay, this is somebody that is well aware of whatever's happening. Just a way to kind of highlight the idea of, you know, being socially conscious in regards to what happens in the world. And now they've turned that into, you know, they've weaponized it. They use it wrong. And now apparently it's a political talking point when you want to run for president. Hot mess. Not just say yellow bone is what prison wants. She did make that song, huh? A mess. uh, yeah, that sucks. Listen, if you go out, like, just understand. I don't get people getting a DUI in this modern time. Uber is right there, especially if you live in a metropolitan city, right? I'm not gonna lie. I've had some really great nights where we had too much. I remember one time me and my friend, we had to just sleep in my car because we were done. I think it was when I turned 24. It was one of those good nights where it was like it was my birthday weekend. Everybody was buying me. This is when I used to like drink heavy when I party. You know, the shots and the this and the that. I couldn't even see straight. I was like, yeah, we're gonna have to sleep in the car because I don't think we're gonna get home. And that was when I didn't live in the city. I was still in Virginia. So I was like, I really am not driving. Like, nope. So man, we had to sleep in the car. And even when we woke up, I was like, I still don't think I can drive. You're gonna have to drive. And so I was like, go ahead and drive. I was in that passenger seat. I was hot. I had the window down. I was going through it. So yeah, like at this point, there's no reason to be drinking and driving. There's Ubers, there's Lyft, there's taxis, there's the bartender will call you somebody. Like, be responsible. And then if you're a celebrity, like y'all can get drivers and everything. Come on now. And then you're gonna hit somebody and try to keep going. Okay. All right. Nick said blackness is not a monolith. It certainly is not. The only thing I will say is that we are all under the same system of anti-blackness, however. And I think that's the one piece that brings us together in somewhat of a monolithic way, but we all move very differently, which I 100% agree with. We all have our own way of doing things, what we believe in, how we see the world, you know, what we indulge in, what we don't indulge in, but society will always put us in one box. All right. I don't know how y'all brought the energy out of me. When I tell y'all I was so tired, like before we started this, like I said before, I almost pushed this live to Tuesday because I was like, I don't have it in me. I just drove from Richmond. I'm sleepy. But we made this work. Y'all done woke me up. Woke. um, let's see. Look at Simone Biles. A lot of these girls cannot do the moves. Oh, that's good. That's good. That's good. Look at Simone Biles. White girls cannot do a lot of the moves, so it's illegal when they can't compete. What's the skater? The black woman. She was a figurine skater, and she used to do that flip, and they made it illegal. Now they were saying it was illegal for safety reasons because if she lands the wrong way, the blade might hit her in the head. Okay, I hear that, but it's interesting. Like, go back and even with gymnastics, go back and look at what people used to do to win the gold medal back in like the 40s and the 50s, and you see how basic it was compared to what these folks do now. Man, like, whew, interesting. I see why folks be pressed. They gave Simone Biles a hard time. They let her have it when she pulled out of the Olympics because she was getting the whatever they call it. What does she call them? The twisties or the shakies or something where it's almost like vertigo, and then people were pissed. Like, acting like all of a sudden everybody else could have did it. Especially a lot of like random middle-aged like white men would letting her have it. I'm like, oh, so y'all watch gymnastics now? Okay, right. I mean, I would have just gone and done it. I'm like, yeah, so you go ahead and try to flip on a beam and do whatever kind of flips they do when you're already dizzy and see how well you land, see if you don't break your neck. Okay. All right. Half of y'all couldn't even get over that wall at the Capitol trying to break into the US Capitol, but now y'all are gymnasts. All right. All right. Tyler Hackner said, "Yes, I will vote for good policy, not solely based on party." That's where I'm at with policy with it as well. Like, I mean, but to be honest, I don't remember the last time I voted for a Republican on anything. But I tend to vote for a lot of independents and Democrats and stuff. But I've always said this because I want people to understand, like, we're in a space because listen, we've been letting the Democrats have it, right? They've just been on so much stuff, they've been getting chewed up. But I want people to understand the disappointment that people have with Democrats should not give a pass for Republicans to just do whatever they want to do. And I say with our politics, you should look at it as if you're in a house, there's a fire in the kitchen, and there's a flood in the garage, right? You can't just give attention to one thing and ignore the other and let the other have a pass because you're so busy just trying to take care of that one thing, because eventually the other thing will do enough damage and spread over or vice versa. That's how I look at like our politics. And for me right now, if I were looking at it, I feel like Republicans are the fire in the kitchen, Democrats are the flood in the garage. Me personally, I would still prioritize both, but I feel like fire moves a lot faster than the water and spreads faster. I would try to find a way to take care of those flames first before I come back and address what's happening with the flood that's in the garage, right? And you still want to address both, but the idea of specifically, because I see this a lot of times, and then especially in social media, you got a lot of bots and stuff that are out there, specifically out there to push chaos and cause confusion and get people to jump into really stupid things. And now you're seeing a lot of Black people who, support a lot of random policy that is extremely detrimental to Black people collectively. Like, I mean, they're all up and through behind it. And I'm like, and then you look at these accounts and they were created in March of 2023 and they follow one or two people. but their whole timeline is them arguing a bunch of anti-black talking points while pretending to be black. Like, pay attention to what's happening. Anyway, man. Somebody said, "Yeah, black is not a monolith," but I don't hear any other racial group emphasizing this except black folks. And I think that comes from the space of it depends on. I feel like it depends on how you look at the perception of your collective from other people. Like I'm in a space where the conversation of blackness for me is through a lens of blackness and black only. I don't care what anybody else thinks about us. Who cares? Like this is why like I don't argue. This is why I don't argue on like Twitter and stuff. Especially a lot of times I'll say my points. Sometimes a lot of white folks who disagree with what I say want to come and argue. I'm like, I'm not arguing with y'all because I already don't really value what you have to say on this because I already know you don't have the range for it and it's not your experience. So I'm gonna let you feel empowered or whatever you want to say, but you're not getting a response out of me because I'm talking about something else. Like you're not a part of this conversation. You weren't invited. Like that's how I kind of move. And so the idea of like saying, so I know a lot of people say like we're not a monolith, and it's more so sometimes a response to how people that are not black try to put us in that category or put us in that box. But again, like I said, we're still under that same umbrella of anti-blackness. So it doesn't matter how far off the deep end you want to go, you're going to get pulled right back in there. So that's why I'm looking at Tim Scott, who's running in South Carolina, and he's already running on a real stupid platform as well. He's playing that stupid game. Go ahead and try to think you're going to get an appreciation certificate from the racist demographic. I'm going to let you know right now, if it comes down to the wire and it's between you and Trump, they're going to go with Trump. If it's between you and DeSantis, they're going with DeSantis because at the end of the day, people that operate as a mouthpiece for white supremacy are only there until somebody else that's already in that position can get the job done, right? They'll let you get to a certain place. Remember how I said it's almost like you're rushing to get to not a glass ceiling, but a cement ceiling because you're never going to be able to get through it. Doing all that shucking and driving just gets you to that ceiling faster, but there's a place that you're never going to surpass, right? It's going to stop right there because at the end of the day, when it comes to the idea of racism in America, yeah, they love it when there's a black person or somebody that's of any kind of marginalized group that can be a mouthpiece for white supremacy or anti-blackness. But at the end of the day, you know, they're not putting those people in positions of power. They would definitely put their own in that position first. But yeah, they'll gladly use leverage with that person to kind of win people over. So even when like Trump had the speech, which is interesting because to an extent, I was like, oh, he's real smart with how he's doing this. When he did the speech to Black America, like, what do you have to lose with Democrats? And he said all the things that were affecting Black people collectively and talked about the wealth gap. I was like, oh, his team is on it with this one. But the part that was interesting is like watching all those white people cheer, yeah. And he's like, you know, you're the lowest at this, you know, your wealth is this, and the white people, yeah. And I'm like, but you MFers voted for that bullshit to put us in that position. So don't sit, and they were only cheering because they just wanted, you know, Black people to jump into that collective and vote along with them. But understand, well, I guess he did become president, but understand, we ain't get a whole lot. Y'all be chewing up whoever's in office now, but Trump did nothing for us either. I need y'all to understand that. Like, there's like one or two things he did that I was like, okay, he's not too bad on that. But everything else, no, don't come to me about the opportunity zones. That was some BS, right? All kind of nonsense. And this is not an endorsement of the nonsense that we're starting to see with some of these other folks, but just understand, like, they be playing these games, man. They play so many games in our faces. He said there's crime ridden and the jobs. You got the high unemployment. And then white people behind Trump are just jumping and cheering. And I'm like, well, since y'all are so passionate about it, I would love for y'all to stop voting for the racist policy so we don't have to be collateral to that anymore. I would love for y'all to vote for things that make common sense so Black people don't have to keep saving the country every election and then get ignored by the very party that they just saved. That would be great. But whatever. Man. These folks would vote to let aliens come and abduct and kill up everybody if it meant that a Black person wasn't going to be in office again. Talisha Conklin, Calvin, you are so bright and focused. I need you to mentor my son. He lacks direction. We live right up the road. And Clinton, y'all in Clinton. Hit my email, calvinbmichaels@gmail. calvinbmichaels@gmail. Hit me at that. We'll follow up. All right. Okay, we gotta start wrapping up soon. Y'all might get me on here for 4 hours the way we moving. All right. Y'all are going in. All right. Yeah, sorry, I didn't care about seeing where Lincoln got shot, and that's crazy. I have lived in DC since 2006, and have never been to Ford Theater. I walk right past it all the time. I be going to the Shake Shack over there. There's a Starbucks down the street. That I like to go get my suits and stuff out of Express and everything, all that, and walk right past Forest Theater. Like, and it's crazy because Forest Theater be having a line out the door. Then all them tour groups be coming. The folks with the fanny packs and like the Trump 2020 hats and stuff be in there ready to go to Forest Theater. Packed out. Y'all go ahead and watch the theater. But all right. So let's see. I'm gonna switch over to my phone because I think my thing has finally frozen after 3 hours. They said, "Oh, that's enough." All right, so we'll do a few more comments and then I'm actually going to wrap because it's late. I do have to work. So let me go to this chat here. Let's set this to all messages, not just the top ones. All right. Let's see where are we at here. Yeah, they called it the Twisties. That's what it was called. Yep. Let's see. I'm gonna just keep scrolling. I lost this middle section, so I'll see some of this chat after I watch the replay. Yes, I agree. They need to leave Simone Biles alone. They need to leave a lot of people alone, to be honest. Yes, we need to do better. Yes, you were not invited to the cookout or the conversation. Just fall back. I agree, Burley09 said, yes, I focus on blackness. Anyone against that does not get my time or energy. Like at some point, we have to stop. I won't say we because I don't think it's everybody, but at some point, and y'all know we talk blackity black everything on here, but as black people, it has to get to a point where you're not giving so much energy to people who already don't see any value in you or your experience anyway. Like sometimes people, so even like when people do the racist stuff or randomly call you N-word, yeah, I'd love to punch them in the face, but then now I done effed up my job and stuff. So yeah, I'm not gonna punch you in the face. I'm gonna just go be nosy and Google and figure out where you work and everything, and then file a complaint and then let them, release that statement. So and so is no longer employed here. Kind of like the lawyer that took that lady's wig off and thought it was funny and went viral, and now he lost his job. You got to move smart sometimes. Now, I do love to throw hands on occasion. I ain't gonna lie, but it's kind of like you got to understand which battles are worth jumping into, right? That's Marty. Diamond and Silk, the one that passed. You did all of that, and Trump didn't even know the friend's name. I said, now they done stumped for you for 3 years, and you don't even know the lady's name, right? Let's see. Billy Flood said, I work in an HBCU that has been underfunded by the state, $500 million TSU. So we have not been permanently funded by anyone. Right. And then with that too, so in response to the last administration where they were saying they were going to start pulling funding from, institutions that don't, celebrate the forefathers, like that wouldn't have even affected TSU because I don't think TSU gets any federal funding. Somebody can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but man, yeah, let's see. Somebody said, do they still have plays? I don't know if they have plays at Forest Theater. I feel like it's just like a museum, but Warner Theater is like right down the street from Forest Theater. And if you're like really pressed about the theaters, then Howard Theater is not too far away, and Lincoln Theater is not too far away. But that Ford Theater, yeah, anybody going to that? But at least I'm not. I don't care. Somebody said I'm over explain. Like, yeah, I'm not. It's not my job to over explain. It's not my job to explain everything to people who already don't want to learn anyway. It's different when there's people who are willing to learn. Like, I don't have a lot of white friends. I got like one or two, but the two that I have are really dope people where if there's something they don't understand, they have an ear to listen. They're not going to combat me about anything, right? And I do be feeling bad sometimes because I'd be, Lord, let something crazy happen in the world. I'm like, let me tell you, see, this is why. And I'm like, I hope, poor them, they be catching it. But no, like they fully get it, right? They're never going to be in the way. They know their place in certain spaces and they recognize, and if there's something they don't understand, they'll at least seek permission before moving in an authoritative disposition. That's why I'm like, okay, I rock with y'all. Y'all all right with me. But I'm not wasting my time arguing with people who are already racist. Like that's like when people like spend all day, arguing with I don't know, QAnon folks with race stuff. Why? Okay, some of these folks are over here thinking that there's Russian, Italian space lasers rigging elections in that freaking Venezuela. What's his name? Hugo Chavez rigged the 2020 election. He's been dead for years. Why are you wasting your energy even engaging with that collective? Let them be over there in cuckoo land together. All right. All right. Let me see here. We need to wrap up soon. Okay, we are a land grant institution and are supposed to get a Wait, aren't y'all the school that that they took half the stuff y'all were supposed to have? They were supposed to pay y'all. This is Billy Flood, right? TSU is the school where it was discovered that there was like hundreds of millions of dollars that did not go to the school that was supposed to be there through the state, and it went to the other institutions in the state. Please tell me if that is that the same one? Y'all know I be getting some of these. There's so much stuff you get them mixed up. I think it is that. Tykel Williams, do you want me to send a TLC link? Yeah, send them on Instagram. I'll definitely check them out. Thank you, Miss Lisa. I greatly appreciate it. No, he didn't permanently fund HBCUs. Trump. No, he didn't. No, that was something they cut the HBCU budget, which I found interesting. And I think what happened is people saw, especially with the Biden administration, where it was like, oh, you saw the piece where it was like, oh, what 15 or 30 trillion cut from HBCUs. That was the proposed bill if that second half of the Build Back Better piece would have passed. And because, or not even the second half, I think it was the first half when they had to go to the negotiation floor with the other side, as far as Republicans, they were like, no, we're not. Nope, 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 nope. They had to keep cutting, cutting, cutting. And so that promise of, the 15 trillion or 30 trillion, I can't remember, got cut down to 2 trillion, right? I'm sorry, not trillion, billion. My number's off. It's late. So it got cut down to 2 billion from the 15 to 30 billion. But everybody was under the assumption that the HBCUs already had that. And then the Biden administration cut that. And that was something that was given by Trump. The Trump numbers, I wrote it down one time. He didn't give that much. Let me see. Let me see. I just want to make sure I have the right number here because I want to say it was only like 180 million I saw. You got to split that between 100 schools. That's not a lot of money. I just want to make sure I'm saying this right. I know I can't stand it, man, but if he did something right, I'll give him credit. Great. I just want to make sure I got this right before I close this out. I don't want to be on the wrong note. Okay. Trump made permanent commitment of $255 million in annual funding to historically Black colleges. That's not a lot of money. And it's really not like Howard alone. The endowment they start the year out with is about $800+ million. So $225 million is enough to build somebody's library and renovate a few buildings. So really, that's pocket change. So technically, had the budget passed of what was the dream bill for this current administration, again, that would have been that $15 billion or $30 billion, whichever one it was. And even with it going down to $2 billion, that's still way more than 225 or 255 million. And with that being said, that 255 million would have been compromised had those HBCUs not jumped and hopped on the founding fathers and their greatness or started teaching something like the 1619 Project. Now they're at risk for losing the funding. So no, they play these political games with us and be trying to act like they're doing us a favor. They're really not, right? Let me keep it going. Let's see. Belize guy, I rock with you. Me and her we be clowning on here. All right, Belize guy, are you actually in Belize, the country, or are you somewhere else? Look, I'm plotting my visits when I go abroad. Let's see. All right, we're gonna wrap up soon. This has been a really fun live, y'all. Oh, Billy Flood. Yeah, okay, thank you for confirming. So TSU is that school where, yeah, there's like 500 million that did not go to them because it was given to everybody else. That's crazy. Crazy. Thank you, Susie Katz. I appreciate it. Absolutely crazy. Said per year, the Trump one would have been annual funding, yes, per year. So after about 4 years, then it gets into like that billion mark, right? But this would have been yeah, 2 billion would have just been a whole lot more to spread around. Or if we could have got that 15 to 30 billion, that would have been amazing. But it's our politics, you know what I mean? And a lot of HBCUs don't get any federal funding. A lot of them get it from the state. There's only a handful of HBCUs that get federal funding. So this would have been all like new money coming in. So yeah, he can definitely get the kudos for the 255 million. But yeah. I'm only asking Belize because I know they speak English over there. So I'm like, if I go to another country, I need to go somewhere where I can communicate. My Spanish is horrible. Right? Oh, you're in Chicago. All right. Down the street. Let's see. Okay, I'm gonna wind down. But so one of the things I have challenged myself to do as of late, because y'all know I be listening to nothing but old head music. I don't ever be like paying attention to the new stuff. I'm going to tell y'all what I've been checking out as of late in regards to current music. Because people always ask. I think I talked about him last time, but I really like this guy Q. His album is really, really nice. I forgot his last name, but he goes by the stage name Q. He has this song called Stereo Driver. I am obsessed with it. So good. He has another song called like Love. I think I found it. I really like that one too. I've been listening to Victoria Monet's Smoke with Lucky Day, Moonlight from Kali Uchis. I like the Fly Girl that Flo had with Missy Elliott. Let's see. Black's Temporary. I like Dogtooth from Tyler the Creator. Leon Thomas has a nice song called Crash and Burn. This artist named Hellier has a song called Terms and Conditions. Dea Bello has a song called Outside I like Khalid, Softest Touch. Kenyon Dixon, Slow Dancing's pretty nice. The group They have the song Riptide. Let me see. Van Black has a song called Bags I Like. Slim just came out with a new song with Faith Evans and Eric Bellinger called Gotta Have Faith I Like. There's an artist named Kamara that has the song These Four Walls. It's a really nice kind of like ballad. I really like that. It's like acoustic with the guitar. I like that. There's an artist named Marshmello with Brent Faiyaz. You know Brent Faiyaz, or I'm saying his name wrong. The song Fell in Love. I like Janelle Monáe's new song, The Lipstick Lover, I like. Victoria Monet's Party Girls. Of course, Coco Jones I've been enjoying. I just saw that her song, I think, is #1 on R&B radio, the ICU, I think. So good for her. The artist Fable with the song Stay. Oddly enough, I did not know what to expect with this. The song that The Weeknd just came out with. It's him, Playboy Cardi, and Madonna. Interesting combination. Really great song. I enjoyed it. It's called Unpopular. Really nice song. No Guidance. Is It a Crime? There's an act. Roy Woods, Don't Mind Me. Fool Crate, Sinking Ship. Corinne Hawthorne. She normally does gospel, but she has a song called Cry that I like. I really like Jesse Boykin, or Boykins. He has a song called Kind of Nasty. And there's MKXYZ, No Boys Allowed. Those are some of the newer songs I've been kind of paying attention to. So believe it or not, I've been trying to listen to the newer music. I'm kind of setting my ways, so it's real hard. Now, I will say a lot of those songs are real here. I need some up tempos, but these songs are pretty nice. So I was like, okay, I've enjoyed those. Right? Yeah, Madonna threw me off with that song. I was like, this is nice. Okay, all right, I like it. All right, we are going to wind this down. Oh, his name is Q, like the letter Q, not Cube. So it's like the letter Q. And like I think all of the track listing on all his songs are in all caps. Oh, and I also shout out Saint Smith just dropped. He's a like an R&B act. I follow him on like Twitter and Instagram. He just dropped an R&B project that's actually really, really nice. He's really good with like layering vocals and like the stacking and stuff. He has a very smooth, it's a really nice R&B project. Like if you really like that kind of throwback R&B that used to kind of be out circa like the early 2000s, that's kind of his vibe. So his project is called Your Saintly. That's a nice one. One of my subscribers, well, not even subscriber, there's another guy, Edion, has a single called Getaway that he just released. That's pretty nice. And then Rob Milton, you might know some of his work has been on like the Insecure soundtracks. He has a single that just came out called Something Real. So a lot of folks have been coming out with some pretty nice projects. So pretty cool. All right. I am going to call it a night. This has been a dope live. Sorry, I'm looking at my phone because my thing's froze. I had to read the thing here. It's been a dope live. We will catch up. By the way, my mother's about to be in town for like 2 or 3 weeks. So if y'all don't see me, it's because I don't know how I'm gonna do a YouTube video with her up in here because she's gonna be all trying to walk all in the camera and stuff, trying to talk to folks, messing up stuff. So yeah. Anyway, stay sane. Happy Juneteenth. Please also I'll save it for another conversation, but make sure you guys are kind of safe around all these things. I get nervous when we have like any kind of celebratory things that the rest of the world knows about, because then that's when people want to be terrible. So make sure you guys are safe during the Juneteenth, holiday and everything. And yeah, we shall catch up. So I'm going to call it a night, and good night, folks. Stay safe, stay sane.